This is a disgrace.
Adam Curry, John C. Dvorak.
It's Thursday, October 4th, 2018. This is your award-winning Gitmo Nation Media Assassination episode 1074.
This is No Agenda.
Honoring Charles Aznavour, because no one else will. And broadcasting live from the capital of the Drone Star State here in downtown Austin, Tejas, in the Cludio in the morning, everybody. I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, where I'm still waiting for my call from the president, I'm John C. Dvorak.
It's Crackpot and Buzzkill in the morning.
Well, if you're waiting for a call, then you can wait a long time. You were supposed to get a text message, not a call.
I got nothing.
I didn't get
any.
We're
supposed to get. It wasn't a text. It was a notification.
Yes, I didn't get one either.
Well, Jay didn't get one. Nick didn't get one. Mimi got one.
Okay, I'm on the Nokia E71, so I wasn't really expecting one, to be quite honest.
Apparently, there's supposed to be some. It's called a 911 chip or something like that in the phone. It's like the newer phone.
Yeah, don't have it.
But Jay has a 911 phone, and she didn't get a.
Well, what does she have? What kind of phone does she have?
Just like a Samsung Galaxy or Samsung 8 or 7 Galaxy. It's a high-end phone.
Oh, she has a SIM card in it? She has a...
I don't know what the hell she's got in it. All I know is a new phone.
No, I mean, does she use it as a telephone? It has an actual...
Yeah, she
cellular
uses
connection.
She's uses it for messaging and other things.
Well, that's a fail then.
It's a total fail.
Yeah. Well, she's part of the OTG crew. That's very good.
Well,
I couldn't quite decide whether it's good or not that I don't get a presidential alert. The former New York banker got one. We were on his boat yesterday. Oh yeah.
Whoa.
Dragging each other through Lake Travis again with ABBA blasting, shirts off. Wake surfing. I'm almost there.
That is, I don't even want to go. I'll make no comment about it.
Oh, what about wake surfing?
No, what are you on this big boat on this little lake? And
it's not a little lake.
No.
Excuse me.
Is it as big as Lake Berryessa?
If I knew what it was, you should go look at. You should go look at Lake Travis. It's long. It's not necessarily very wide. It's wide enough. But they got cigarette boats out there. They all right. You're in one of those moods. Fine. It's okay.
So tell us more about the banker. You must have grilled him about something, unless you were in the drink the whole time.
No, we drank afterwards. But yes, of course. Number one thing, he says, I say, how's that Tesla short? Did you get out when it dropped on the weed smoking? He said, no. He said, I had a rule in there. If it dropped below, I guess, 259, then half of his position would be sold. It didn't go that low. But he says, it's still beautiful. January, and here's why. He says, read the news. Everyone's saying, Tesla's Model 3, America's best-selling sedan. He says, that's the death knell right now. It's because sedans aren't selling. It's the only sedan that people are buying. Everyone's buying SUVs.
Because Ford actually dropped all of his sedans in favor of these crossovers.
Yeah, he says, these are all people who are fans and really wanted one. There's no demand for sedans. He says, so he's pretty confident that his January...
I think we should stop here and explore this a little bit, besides the Tesla thing, which is, what happened to the demand for sedans? When I was a kid...
Oh, here we go.
We used to have these... The cars were bigger. And
I'll say
they were a lot bigger.
Yeah,
2-door or 4-door, and they had bench seats. They did not have.
That's right.
Seats,
you had 3 in the front, 3 in the back.
Ruined the sedan, because the charm of the bench seat was when you're on a date, the girl could sit right next to you.
Now wait, then you only if you had a Necker's knob on your steering wheel. Remember those?
What, the suicide knob?
Well, in my parts, we call it the Necker's knob. So you could have one arm around your girl on the bench and steer with that knob on the steering wheel with your left hand.
Yeah.
The Necker's knob.
Anyway, you'd have the arm around the girl, and then you go to drive-in theaters. You'd have a lot of fun with these types of cars. But then they got the bucket seats, and then with the console in the middle and the stick shift.
Yes, that was a thing. The bucket seats, AM radio.
How do you even put your arm around anyone if they're over there stuck and they can't? It would be like they'd kill themselves if they got in the middle.
They ruined car culture.
There's just something to that that thesis.
Mm-hmm.
It was I don't know what it was, but it did ruin car culture.
So I don't know why sedans aren't selling, other than what you just mentioned. SUVs, it's kind of been sold as, this what every American needs, because we all know that
they don't handle as well. Even a sedan handles better than an SUV.
We all know at the drop of a hat, you can be out of a job in America. You can be tossed out. So you need to move. Pile up the SUV. Or SUVs. Dogs love it because you don't have kids.
That's true. Dogs like SUVs.
Actually, someone sent me this was from a law enforcement officer. Law Enforcement and Animal Encounters. It was a presentation. And I have the slide in the show notes. Pet ownership in the United States. Here's some statistics. More, according to law enforcement. More American households have pets than children. Well, we knew that. A child in the U.S. is more likely to have a pet than a live-in father. Now, that's a statistic right there. That is sad. The woman is the primary caregiver in 72.8% of pet-owning households. Isn't that interesting?
That's odd. That's a very strange fact.
Yeah. Well, and I can only presume it's a fact. And battered women have been known to live in their cars with their pets for as long as 4 months until a spot opened up at a pet-friendly safe house. Wow.
That country's going downhill.
Every country's going downhill. The Netherlands. Oh, my goodness. Big warning from the State Department. Travel advisory.
What? For the Netherlands of all places?
For the Netherlands of all places, yes. I shall read this advisory to you from travel.state.gov. Netherlands Travel Advisory. Level 2. Exercise increased caution. Right, we got to do that.
Level 2. Exercise increased caution.
Terrorists continue plotting possible attacks in the Netherlands. Terrorists may attack with little or no warning, targeting tourist locations, transportation hubs, markets, shopping malls, local government facilities, hotels, clubs, restaurants, places of worship, parks, major sporting and cultural events, educational institutions, airports, and other public areas. Woohoo! Can't wait to go back.
Huh. Wonder what they know that we don't.
Well, they just rolled up those 7 guys who were planning a major attack.
Well, this sounds to me like the time to go. They're not going to attack after that.
This
You're always backwards. When you went to France after they did an attack.
Yeah, this is the no agenda thinking. Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I'm in total agreement. Totally.
And when the nothing's going on, that's when you got to be careful.
Yeah. Huh. Okay, so there's plenty of stuff to talk about. Thank goodness. Some of it. Yeah. I mean, not that I watched
votes going
cable
on today.
news.
You're monitoring them, monitoring the vote. It's supposed to have the vote today.
Is this the Kavanaugh vote?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see.
Well, monitor. We should have some info by the end of the show.
Well, let me see. I do have some SCOTUS Kavanaugh related stuff. I mean, there's all kinds of.
Oh well, before we go on,
stories.
there, we might as well just start with a little bit of humor.
Oh,
this was that woman I told you about who's a voiceover actress. I can't remember her name offhand, but she's a voiceover actress doing the voice of Ford, the sound alike, and she sounds like her. But she got nothing but grief for doing this.
Didn't she do voiceover for Star Wars?
Yeah, she's she's a voice actress, and she does this voice, and I thought she nails it, but she got grief, because nobody can make, oh my God.
I don't know if anybody is listening to the Dr. Blasey Ford testimony about Brett Kavanaugh, but this is how I sound. I know it's a surprise to even me that I talk this way, and I'm a doctor and a grown woman. I sound like I'm still back at that high school party. I can't help it. I just have this kind of a voice, like a baby, even though I'm a doctor and I'm on this media circus, political stage, and I have kids myself. I don't know why I speak with vocal fry, but but you can listen to my testimony and hear that a grown woman sounds this way. Dr. Blasey Ford, thank you.
Well, if we're going to take that particular track, fine. I don't know why the New York Times does this. I think they should stick to reporting, and you can do your just stick to making a newspaper. No, they've got to do audio and video. And I don't know who decided to produce this clip from the New York Times, nytimes.com website. This is about Trump. And he didn't make it on himself. His dad gave him all this money, and they dodged taxes.
A really good summary of that. Yeah.
Well,
this story was too funny.
Well, wait until you hear the New York Times audio version of this.
In 1995, Donald Trump and his siblings began to take ownership of most of their father's real estate empire while avoiding hundreds of millions of dollars in taxes.
It's semi-fried.
They did so by creating two grantor-retained annuity trusts, also known as GRATs. One for dad and one for mom. Taxes are paid based on the final value of the GRAT, and this gave the Trumps every incentive to lowball the value of the assets. That's exactly what they did. Take, for instance, the Fontainebleau Apartments. In 1982, the Trumps valued the 164-unit complex at $15.3 million.
What is with the jazz drums? What are they thinking? They got jazz drums. She's talking in a bucket. She's semi-fry.
But for
That's a woman?
Yes!
Of the GRAT, they said it was worth just $2.9 million. They then broke up the ownership of the apartment.
I don't think so. I think it's a woman.
Giving almost half to Mary Trump, Fred Trump's wife. This allowed them to tell the IRS that Fred Trump, who had exercised iron-fisted control over every brick of his empire.
And we thank our executive producer, Mingus.
Empire. He built row houses and owned a couple of apartment
Empire. Empire.
Iron-fisted control over every brick of his empire for 70 years, was a minority owner with no real say over his buildings.
No, I can't listen to it anymore. But that is the New York Times today.
Yeah, somebody with vocal fry, guy or woman. I don't know what sex that was.
It doesn't matter when you fry that hard.
Could have been anything. I'm sorry. Yeah. Could have been any of 60. Yeah. But you got the newsletter. You saw a picture of the house that he was, that he owned and he raised the Trump family in. It's just, a middle class place in the Queens of all places. You can't become a empire builder in Queens.
Do you have a jazz drum there by any chance? You got your jazz drums?
My bongos are downstairs. I could actually really make it sound good. Yeah.
Here's a newsflash for you.
So this guy, they made him out to be a billionaire, giving $400 million, giving it to Trump, and other.
By the way, I love the continuous. That's $5 billion in today's dollars. They keep adding the inflation numbers to make it sound good. It was $3 million, but that's $800,000 billion in today's dollars.
So this was like the most blown up. And everybody, all the New York media picked up on it, because it sounded so good. Now, all of a sudden, out of the blue, Fred Trump, of all people, becomes a empire guy, a billionaire in Queens,
yes.
Living in an austere little house. It makes no sense whatsoever. And apparently Donald when he was a baby, they were giving him $300,000 a month. Here's a bunch of money, kid. Don't spend it in one place.
He's not a self-made. And the thing is,
this is an old meme. This is on
the
list.
It's in the Trump rotation. Exactly. He's not as rich as he claims he was. Didn't do it by himself, which is kind of a hybrid of a rotation. And a tax cheat somehow, which is very specious at best.
Well, like
nobody wants.
He says, "Gee, I guess the New York Times does a better job
than the IRS
stuff out than the IRS does."
Yeah, and and people, I heard them on the cable news show saying, "Where's the IRS?" And I'm like, "They're busy fucking me up my ass. That's what they're doing." Sorry,
jeez,
sorry, it's Tourette's.
So
rundown.
This is so bogus. Yeah, let's listen to. This is probably the most extreme of the rundowns. This is on Democracy Now.
In a major expose, the New York Times has revealed President Trump inherited his family's wealth through tax dodges and outright fraud, receiving at least $413 million in inflation-adjusted dollars from his father's real estate empire. The New York Times 13,000-word investigative report found Fred and Mary Trump, Donald Trump's parents, transferred more than $1 billion in wealth to their children, much of it to Donald Trump.
Wait, was that in today's dollars?
Himself, paying less than 5%.
But it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money.
Of the $550 million in taxes they should have under inheritance tax rates. The Times reports Donald Trump helped his parents undervalue real estate holdings by hundreds of millions of dollars in IRS tax returns. The Times also reports Trump earned $200,000 a year in today's dollars from his parents' companies beginning at the age...
Okay, it's annoying me to no end. And now that Democracy Now! Is doing it, look, the only reason I can think for them to use this consistent today's dollars is because they want to inflate it.
Yes.
And this is something that is not typically done.
They're doing it, and I think to inflate it on the one hand and draw attention to the numbers, the bigger numbers, or get more attention. This is nuts. I mean, one of the things they don't. This is like when during the Obama administration. I mean, the guy never worked really in a business or a job or had any skills like that, and they make all these assumptions. I think Amy Goodman's pretty much in the same boat. For one thing, if you have a lot of money, although you don't even have to have $1 billion, you can have one of these $14 million apartment complexes, and I guess that makes you a billionaire. You can give money to your children all throughout their lives tax-free.
Yeah.
That's what you do. You're supposed to do that. You give them, allowances as much as you can legally.
Yeah, because at the end of your day, the government comes and takes it away.
Yeah, so if you keep giving it away legally, it's all legal. It's not like there's no cheating going on. If there was cheating, the IRS would be all over it.
No. Listen, what they should be doing. Right on time at 11:27. What they should be reporting is there is an America for everybody and then an America for the wealthy buddies. And Trump is clearly a part of that. And I'll tell you exactly what that one part of that difference. The IRS code is pretty much all bull crap just to keep the slaves in check. If you have enough money to go and sue the IRS over very simple things, you will most likely win. The problem is it costs you, $200,000-$300,000 to get lawyers and jury pool, and all the rest is just slave control. Guys like Trump and people like Bloomberg and Warren Buffett, they don't have to play by the rules because the IRS knows, and they don't play by the rules because the actual rules say that they can do this. Yeah, there are two Americas. Yeah, it's completely okay and legal. Now, is it disgusting that the little guy gets screwed? Yeah, of course it is.
Why don't they make a story out of that then?
Oh, please. Doesn't involve Trump.
Of 3, with a salary that increased to $1 million a year after Trump graduated college and to $5 million a year when Trump was in his 40s. During the 2016 campaign, Trump repeatedly portrayed himself as a self-made billionaire whose only head start was, quote, a small loan of $1 million from his dad.
Which is $8 billion in today's dollars.
It's not been easy for me. It has not been easy for me. And, I started off in Brooklyn. My father gave me a small loan of $1 million. I came into Manhattan, and I had to pay him back, and I had to pay him back with interest.
In fact, the New York Times reports Fred Trump...
Stop. Now, what you actually pointed something out that I didn't catch, but now I did. In fact, when he got the so-called $1 million loan, in today's dollars, it probably would be about 8.
But they don't mention that, do they?
But they don't mention that because they want to go with the extremes.
Yes.
So instead of saying in today's dollars when it came to that, no.
Exactly.
Look, they that way they can exaggerate the difference.
It's called biased reporting.
You think?
Manhattan, and I had to pay him back, and I had to pay him back with interest.
In fact, the New York Times reports Fred Trump lent his son Donald at least $140 million in inflation-adjusted dollars, and much of it was never repaid. As the New York Times expose broke on Tuesday...
that's really misleading because first she doesn't say the $1 million is not adjusted for today. And then she says, in fact, he lent him $140 million in today's dollars. Well, how does that compare to the $1 million that you didn't give us in today's dollars?
It's pathetic.
It really is.
This is like so ridiculous. I mean, and the media in general is pulling this stunt, and this today's dollars thing is just part of it. But it goes. Today's show will. I have most of my clips today show some, and Amy's. I have one of those whipsaw clips from her that I've never noticed before because I don't listen to Democracy Now! That much, but. I guess she's into it too. Say one thing and then exemplify it with something that's got nothing to do with it.
Yeah. Which one is this?
Well, does that clip over the other one?
Yeah, it was pretty much over.
Yeah, let it go. Okay. This is where it should say.
Switchback? Maybe it's the switchback.
Switchback, yes, yeah. Switchback.
Got it.
President Trump praised Judge Kavanaugh and mocked his accusers Tuesday. This is Trump speaking to reporters outside the White House.
Well, I say that it's a very scary time for young men in America when you can be guilty of something that you may not be guilty of. This is a very difficult time.
Wow. Shameless.
Shameless. He said nothing about the judge, and he said nothing about he didn't mock anybody. And by the way, she said he mocked his accusers. He did have a funny bit that he did at his speech about the woman.
About
which
Dr.
I do have
Ford.
a clip of.
Yeah,
but that was an example of a switchback. She says Trump did this and that, and then she goes to the clip of Trump who did neither of those things. He's just bitching and moaning about young men today getting screwed over by false accusations. So she's full of shit. This woman.
Yeah. Well, whoever's writing her script.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. Well, this takes me into a multi-part series, unless you want to play what Trump said at his rally.
I would like to play because I thought, he's developing his stand-up.
Yeah.
He's getting better at it.
And it's important because Fox no longer breaks live to him when he's doing these, which means, hey, your script is kind of old and tired. He caught on to it. 2 times he wasn't aired. Boom. Now he's doing stuff that they have to air again. So
yes, and of course, C-SPAN does play his whole speeches.
Scott Adams made an interesting observation on the Joe Rogan show, which someone sent to me. He said, if you want to make something addictive, then you can't deliver the same outstanding product every single time. It has to be different so that people are saying, oh, well, it wasn't quite as good as maybe it'll be this time. And then when you get one, then boom, everything your levels go through the roof. Like, oh, yeah, this is fantastic. And that's how you addict someone, which is what Trump does. By the way, inadvertently, we do it on this show.
But we're naturals.
We're naturals at sucking sometimes. Yes.
All right.
But so that's why, he's smart. He's adding to his routine. I agree.
Now, all of the networks said that Trump, and they did it derisively, and they even had Anna Eshoo locally. I don't have the clip of her bitching about this. Oh, he mocked that poor woman. He mocked her. As though he's like, I don't know. I mean, I don't get what the point is. He's not really – he's doing a shtick. And I think he's doing it well. And this is him. Trump mocks Ford at the speech.
Later Tuesday, President Trump mocked Dr. Christine Blasey Ford during a campaign rally in Mississippi, just days after he'd called her a very credible witness.
36 years ago, this happened. I had one beer, right? I had one beer. Well, do you think it was? Nope, it was one beer. Oh, good. How did you get home? I don't remember. How'd you get there? I don't remember. Where is the place? I don't remember. How many years ago was it? I don't know.
Oh, but at the end, there was more to it. At the end, he brings it back and says, but I had one beer.
Yeah. He did wrap it around. It was very well done. They didn't play that whole thing. Unfortunately, and I don't have it, but yes, he did. I heard it once. Yes, it was very well done, and he does the build up, and he does the yelling, louder and louder. I don't know. Right, with the audience applauding. I mean, the guy is getting really good at this.
Yeah. Now, there was the National Press Club show, which you may have seen at least one clip from. That's the Kalb Report, and on this show was Chad Koppel. And Brian Stelter, the seltzer waterman from CNN's reliable sources. Also on the panel was some dude from WAPO and Emily Rooney from WGBH Boston. And they're here's how I think I'm going to do this. I'm going to play the clip that pretty much everybody saw. And I've learned from doing this show for 11 in our 11th year now, that often when there's a clip that's going viral and people are showing it, you got to go and find the source material because A, there's probably more to the clip than just that little meme that floats around, and B, there may be a lot more in it. And I think I struck some gold with this one. Ted Koppel pretty much doing our job as media deconstructionist. And I'm going to jump right into this, and then later I'll go back to the beginning to show you how sadly pathetic it really is. But I love what Koppel said here. They're talking about the press and the president, and how it's horrible to have to be a journalist, and we're under fire, we have to resist, and he's a liar, and he tweets, and all this stuff. And then Ted Koppel drops this.
Oh, I think that we've left out a key word. Everybody here keeps talking about ideology and politics. Money. 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 Donald Trump has been very, very good for baseball. He has been wonderful for the industry. Your boss acknowledged as much a number of months ago during the campaign.
Les Moonves.
Donald Trump, huh?
It was Les Moonves who acknowledged it.
Les Moonves also acknowledged it, but so did the head of CNN.
But that means what? If ratings are up, that means what?
The ratings are up. It means you can't do without Donald Trump. You would be lost without Donald Trump.
Well, that is what he says.
Ted, you know that's not true.
CNN's ratings.
You know that's not true, Ted.
Be in the toilet without Donald Trump.
You know that's not true. You're playing for laughs.
You're playing for. I realize Brian Stelter. I think
is
he's
that Stelter?
Yeah, he sounds super gay. He's like, you're just doing that for cheap laughs, Ted.
You've lived through enough presidencies to know.
Hold on a second,
there will be more
Brian.
presidents.
What were the ratings before Trump, and what are the ratings now?
I would say we might be up 20, we might be up 30%, we might be up 40%. If we go back down 40%, that's okay too.
Well, it may not be okay.
Of course it is.
For you.
Sure, no problem, Brian. Keep saying that.
Hold on. I reject the premise that these networks are making so much money off of Trump and thus we benefit from it.
Tell me for a moment, if you will, let's get away from CNN then, all right? Sensitive subject. Let's go to MSNBC. Is there a moment of the day when they are not focusing on Donald Trump or some intimately related subject? It is essentially, I know every once in a while. If the number of people who died in Indonesia gets up to 1,000, they'll give it a mention or two. But by and large, the only news that's covered, program after program after program.
Exactly. So it was fun to watch Brian Stelter's face just kind of melt away and make all these gaffes. So I go back and watch this entire show, and the premise of the show by itself was such utter bullcrap. It was a total head shaker. Here is the intro to this show.
Hello.
Oh, by the way, I cut out a ton of spaces because this Kalb guy and Koppel, they talk like this.
Yeah, they do.
A lot.
They use dramatic methodology.
Very dramatic.
Oh, and welcome to the National Press Club and to another edition of the Kalb Report. I'm Marvin Kalb, and our topic tonight, Truth Be Told, Journalism in the Age of Donald Trump. In February 2017, 3 weeks after his inauguration, President Trump called the press the enemy of the American people.
Okay,
no, he didn't.
Now he said February 2017. February. We're going to come back to that in a minute, but he said press enemy of the people.
If truth be told, our mission tonight, I was stunned.
Stunned!
He was the first leader of a democracy to call the press an enemy of the people. Up to this time, only the dictators of the 20th century, Hitler of Germany, Stalin of the Soviet Union, had used that loaded phrase. I was left wondering, why would Trump choose to join such unsavory company?
Like he made a decision. I think I shall become a dictator. I want to join these guys.
What did he have in mind? What was his strategy? And for a journalist, equally important, how should one cover a president so indifferent to historical fact and so free and easy with truth? No easy task.
So we know that that is not what the president said. But this guy, someone wrote it down for him. Maybe he researched it. February, Trump's, oh my God, he said, the press is the enemy of the people. And Trump addressed this grievance 3 days after he said, the fake news is the enemy of the people. And I got the clip for us.
And I want you all to know that we are fighting the fake news. It's fake, phony, fake. A few days ago, I called the fake news the enemy of the people, and they are. They are the enemy of the people. Because they have no sources, they just make them up when there are none. They're very dishonest people. In fact, in covering my comments, the dishonest media did not explain that I called the fake news the enemy of the people, the fake news. They dropped off the word fake. And all of a sudden, the story became the media is the enemy. They take the word fake out. And now I'm saying, oh, no, this is no good. But that's the way they are. So I'm not against the media.
Anyway, so he, that's not what he said.
By the way, is an excellent clip to keep at the ready. Because this kind of thing just continues to propagate. And now you have Marvin Kalb, a very famous old, retired journalist, throwing it out there again. And it's bull crap. This is very poor. They're just proving the point.
Yeah, that's what was so amazing. There's a couple of things here, but that was what's so mind-boggling to me is you didn't even get the quote right. And you didn't even get the media, but you moved it to press. So it's mind-boggling.
They moved the media to press.
Yeah, with fake news to media is the enemy, to the press is the enemy of the people.
Yeah, which he never said.
We have a saying in the Netherlands, als de schoen past, trek je hem aan. If the shoe fits, you will put it on. So maybe that's what's going on here. Yeah, that's us. We're fake. Oh, it's me. It's the press. I can't explain it any other way.
That sounds like a good explanation as any.
Now, Koppel is very switched on, and he mentions things that I have a feeling that the panel had never even maybe thought about. To us, very obvious.
What is your underlying fear about this collision between president and press?
Well, let me tell you a little anecdote, which, as our old friend Henry Kissinger liked to say, has the additional advantage of being true. In Cleveland, the day that he was nominated, I sat down with Donald Trump. I have known Donald Trump for about 20 years. And in the course of that interview, he said to me, Ted, I don't need you guys anymore. You guys in the press. He said, I've got, I think at that time it was 18 million followers on Twitter, and perhaps at that point 12 million followers on Facebook. Those numbers have expanded.
Going up to about 53 million.
Hugely. He said, I don't need you guys. I can contact my people directly, communicate with them directly. That's part of our problem. The other part of our problem is the internet, which, because it gives access to anyone with an iPhone or a laptop computer, requires far less experience than any of the panelists you have up here.
It's like I'm watching this in slow motion. Wait a minute. Now I know what happened. Internet. My goodness. So there's some more back and forth about the media's image. I'm going to skip that clip. Oh, at a certain point, a very rude question. Very rude. We have a number of oral doctors known as dentists who listen to this program.
Oh, yeah.
Oral
Knights.
hygiene is incredibly... Knights. I think we have dukes even. Oral hygiene is incredibly important to your overall well-being and health.
Brush every day.
Let's mock them.
Do you think they should go into journalism or be...
Yeah, so it's about the young people who are attending this farce.
Do you think they should go into journalism or become dentists?
What? Well, fuck you.
I go back to your Richard C. Hotlet quote. Get it straight. Become journalists, but be professional journalists. I hate the self-depiction of some of our colleagues as being part of the resistance. No, we're not. We're journalists, and that means gathering the facts and conveying them as accurately as we can. Sometimes that will be hypercritical, but we got to do it.
Do your job. Last clip kind of backs this up with a nice anecdote, and this is kind of his advice to today's journos.
In the old days, we were the gatekeepers. That was a term that a behavioral scientist by the name of Wilbur Schramm coined many, many years ago. To get to the public, you had to go through Marvin Kalb, or Walter Cronkite, or Chet Huntley and David Brinkley. And you only had the three networks, right? That made a huge difference. Another quick story. I got a call, about 30 years ago, from a New York Times reporter. I called him because I wanted him to come on as a guest on Nightline. And he went to check with the then executive editor of the New York Times, a fellow by the name of Abe Rosenthal, old friend of yours. And he called me back later, and he said, I'll tell you what Abe said. He said, you want to go on Koppel's program? You go right ahead. Only don't come back to the New York Times.
Boom.
His point being twofold. One, you work for the Times, and that's all I want you to do. And two, Koppel's going to ask you a lot of provocative questions. And I don't want my New York Times reporters expressing opinions. Well, them days is long past. From Morning Joe to Rachel at night on CNN, on MSNBC, the spear carriers are there from the New York Times, from the Washington Post, and they are trying very, very hard to be what they are, first-rate objective reporters. But when you are in the presence of Joe and Mika Brzezinski in the morning, and you are on that program where quite clearly the agenda is anti-Trump from start to finish. If you appear on that program and you sit on that desk morning after morning after morning, the public is going to identify you as being anti-Trump. And you can do the best you possibly can to be an objective reporter when you're doing your stories for the Times, and people aren't going to believe you.
I think Ted is due for a #MeToo moment. Better be careful there, Ted.
I'd be careful.
Can't be speaking that truth to power, bro. Very, very dangerous. Very dangerous.
But he's dead on.
Yeah,
but of course, those assholes up there, they were paying no attention to him.
No. No, of course not.
No, they're saying, well, that Ted's an old man, he sees things differently. He knows Trump personally. He's trying to defend his friend.
Yeah.
We're part of the resistance.
Oh, is that it? They're friendly? Is Koppel, he's got him, surely he's left?
Oh, yeah, he's left. He's known Trump forever.
Yeah. Well, most people in the press around New York have known Trump forever.
Yeah.
They just never picked up on his Nazi stuff. Strange.
Till now.
So strange. Very strange. I don't understand. How does it happen?
Now he's putting himself in with Stalin and Hitler,
yes,
as Marvin Kalb said.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, so I met up with the one of these little secretive Republican gatherings on Friday. I mentioned this. I was going to go to do
You didn't?
this.
No, you didn't tell me this.
Yes, I told you. I did.
Not on the show.
It was a couple weeks ago when I told you. It was after the show.
Oh, well, if it didn't happen on the show, it didn't happen.
I agree. So I went to this thing, and it was interesting because there was.
Well, can you tell us what the thing was? I mean,
it was just one of these little cocktails with conservatives was the name of it. That's what it was. And so I said, well, I'll go to this thing. And so because I wanted to see what was going on with the California Republicans are pathetic.
All of them were in the room, no doubt.
Pretty much. I think all of the California Republicans were there. And, it was like one guy's a professor. He teaches public speaking at some college. He wouldn't say which because he was afraid.
Did y'all have badges with your name blacked out?
Just the first name. Yeah, we all blocked out.
Was your name Earl?
Yeah, Earl.
Did you tell people you were a podcaster?
It was like everybody. Yes, I did. And like everybody's, and people don't realize that where podcasters sit on the pecking order, but they.
Ooh, you're a podcaster. Ooh, that's hip.
So the point is that everybody seems to be freaked out. They can't say anything they can't say anything in public unless they're amongst fellow travelers. Because they get called out and yelled at and accused of this and that, and the potential of losing their jobs, especially in the Silicon Valley area.
Yeah.
It's really pathetic how anybody who's not a Hillary supporter has been silenced in California.
Right.
Even though a couple of them said, well, I put
I'm sorry. I would go even further. I would say even just saying you're conservative, a conservative, or Republican, I'm sure it is just not done in California.
And it's, but it's like it's so accepted to just to keep these people from speaking up. So they never speak up. They just don't. They just, which is what we recommend on this show, by the way, if you haven't noticed. In some environments, you just shut up because you're nuts to do anything else.
Right.
Because the radicals have pretty much hold the reins of control when it comes to free speech. But, it was interesting.
So, this is a dud.
It was a dud.
What came out of it? Anything? Surely something came out of it.
Yeah, I found out. I didn't know this, but I should have known it. We had a representative from the RNC there, and he's talking about that we have a bill in California to repeal a ridiculous gas tax that was just thrown up. The government says we were running out of money because we got so much corruption in California. Let's put another 10 cents on every gallon of gas. That'll help.
Yeah.
And so somebody said, no, this is ridiculous. You keep taxing gas. It's too high. The gas is too high, so let's repeal the gas tax, which is Proposition 6. So yes on 6 repeals the gas tax. But I was looking over my ballot, and when you read the yes on 6 information in the ballot, it says voting for this will destroy the roads and freeways of California.
What?
Say, what?
How does that? Yeah. That makes no sense.
That's what I said, and the guy says, "Oh yes." The lieutenant governor, the guy who writes, I think it's lieutenant governor, who writes these, he's the guy who writes these things he's the one who writes up the way it's presented on the ballot.
Huh.
So he writes it up for the benefit of the state, the coffers, by making it sound very negative if you vote yes on 6.
Well, that's not just a little negative. It sounded like fire and fury.
On the next show, I'm going to bring the ballot up and I'll read it. I'll read the way it's written because I do have it downstairs. But it's like I didn't realize that that's how it was done. I thought there was a committee. I thought it was a little more fair, but apparently it's not. It's very unfair. Yeah. What am I thinking?
Well, things are getting fair in California. Very, very fair, especially for women.
California Governor Jerry Brown signed a bill into law Sunday requiring that publicly held corporations headquartered in the state include women on their boards. This law is the first of its kind in the U.S., and we've got Jenna McGregor to talk about it. She covers corporate governance for the Washington Post. When Governor Jerry Brown was talking about this, he referred to recent events in Washington, and you wrote about the Brett Kavanaugh hearings in the Senate Judiciary Committee and sort of the appearance of having a female prosecutor there in the room. How much of this is about appearance and how much is about change in corporate governance?
This, by the way, is NPR, always ready to put in a Trump dig.
Well, I have seen the same question of whether he is trying to make a statement, particularly this week, although this was the deadline, end of September, for deciding to sign it into law.
September.
Was this a way of making a statement of what the country has been engaged in a major national conversation about?
Yeah.
The issue of whether having more women on the board has any impact is a good question. There is a lot of research that shows it does have a good impact, that it leads to either higher returns or better decision-making or better priced mergers.
Sounds pretty solid to me, that background research info.
Yet the question is, how do you do it? Do you actually require them to do it? Do you have incentives for them to do it? Do you do it through kind of public shaming? And so what is the best approach to getting more diversity on the board or getting more diversity in a room full of any decision makers?
Key point there, because that'll be next. Key point. This is for board. And as she said right there, WAPO, how about just equal women, men, for any room of decision makers, any room of this is it. I can see this happening.
Well,
it's like a Vonnegut type situation.
Do they have any provisions for this? And I know there's a couple of companies in California that brag about being all women, women CEO.
How about HuffPo?
Board, all women. Is
HuffPo.
that fine? That's okay.
Yes. Yeah. Well, this is where you live, and that was not the only
drives. This is another wedge between business and the state government. It just make companies just going to incorporate in Delaware, where they don't have to do any of this stuff. I wouldn't.
Well, but if you're operating in California, I'm sure you have to adhere to it, whether you're a Delaware company or not,
or where you're incorporated. I mean, Amazon's operating in California. A lot of people operate in California. It doesn't mean that they have to have women on their boards. It's because
they will. They will.
Well, they can try. It's illegal.
They'll be shamed. Wait, it's illegal?
It's unconstitutional. You can't tell people what you can't have quotas like that on a board of a company, public or not. As far as I can tell,
yeah, but it's
struck down by this will be struck down by the Supreme Court, especially once Kavanaugh gets in.
Okay, John, simmer down.
Because he hates women.
That's right. That's why he'll do it. Your net neutrality law also passed. And I will remind everyone, John and I are against the idea of net neutrality. And it's for
a lot of different reasons.
It's a misunderstood position, but it is absolutely true that all net neutrality regulations and rules, including those in California, include the language that an ISP may block any unlawful traffic or unlawful content.
Yeah, torrents. Hello, torrents.
Yeah, all of that goes away. Bitcoin, all kinds of things. Well,
I think torrents would be the first to go.
Torrents would be the first to go, but also unlawful content. So there's a lot of blocking that could happen, and the prioritization thing is bull crap, as you've pointed out many times. You definitely want telemedicine to have some type of prioritization at certain moments, but no. But this report from NPR is exquisite.
Remind us what net neutrality is and what impact this California law, if implemented, would have on ordinary people going online.
Right. The overarching question of net neutrality is how much power your internet providers should have over your internet experience. So typically when people talk about net neutrality, they mean regulations like no blocking of whatever website you want to visit, that internet providers should not be able to slow down an app that you're visiting.
Oh, I'm visiting an app today. Say hi to Grandma.
Other elements sometimes include...
Visiting an app?
Well, this is the level of NPR technology reporting. And she's telling us this is what it's about, so they can't slow down your connection or your app.
That you're visiting. Other elements sometimes include things like zero rating, which is a deal where Verizon might give you streaming of Hulu that doesn't count toward your data restrictions, but then count Netflix toward data restrictions. And these are all rules that California put into place. They banned all these things.
Ban them, I tell you, ban them.
Yeah, but it sounds like they banned whatever they banned is for the benefit of so we can make sure to get our streaming.
Right. Well, we all know who this really benefits, and it benefits Google, it benefits Facebook, Twitter, Apple to an extent. It benefits those guys. Let's see if she brings that up.
Before the Trump administration repealed the net neutrality rules, there was a really vocal campaign by activists trying to get the FCC not to take this step. Now that California has gone this route, what has the reaction been?
Well, California was indeed sort of reacting to that massive liberal wave of activism and online activism that prompted the writing of these rules. The battle lines have been drawn for a while on the net neutrality debate, and then they're still the same. On the one hand, you've got internet companies, especially the smaller ones like Etsy or video streaming company Vimeo, saying that these rules are critical for them to be able to compete against the bigger companies. On the other side, you've got the telecom providers, your AT&T, your Verizon, your Comcast, that have been pushing California to not put net neutrality rules into place and are expected to sue California as well.
Yeah, let's add Amazon.
The California taxpayers' money going to get sued.
Yeah, let's add Amazon, Netflix. Let's add all of that. Those guys don't want to have to pay extra. That's what this is about. But no, it's about the little guys don't want to get screwed. But no, please.
I want to mention something here, which is part of my ongoing argument, which we sometimes forget to mention. Ever since the internet showed up in the late 80s, and then when it became very popular, starting with the browser and the World Wide Web, there was this constant cry, and you remember this, oh my God, we can't let the government ever step foot and screw things up. Don't let the government come in with their regulations.
Yep.
Net neutrality issues are all about giving the government the power to come in and screw things up, which is what they were bitching about. All the experts, all the superstars were doing nothing but moaning and groaning about the possibility of the government coming in and screwing things up with the internet. But now they're inviting it? Hello?
I love it when you get mad.
It's just you see this happen and you go, you guys were thinking the other way just a few years ago for pretty good reasons, and now you're inviting it? How did you get – here's what I would ask. How did you all get suckered by this net neutrality nonsense? How did that happen?
When you say you all, who are you talking to?
All the people out there are all big gung-ho net neutrality.
I can tell. I can tell you how that happened. The biggest lobbying group outside of pharmaceutical in D.C. is Silicon Valley, led mainly by Google. I'd say is the most sophisticated, but they all have their lobbying arms. They all it's sexy. They got stars. They got all kinds of stuff. They got storylines. They got cameos. It's all sexy, sexy, sexy. And those are the guys who just lobby the crap out of it. And they create all these little nonprofits, all these Stop Net Neutrality, who all get about $800,000, $900,000 a year from Google. And Soros probably, I'll just throw that in there because it sounds good. But Google for sure, and from Facebook. And it's their job to go out and make you afraid. Because it's not that hard to believe. But it's without critical thinking or without knowledge of how shit works, how peering works, what actually the Netflix controversy was about. None of that background is given anymore. So it's just a lack of knowledge and playing to people's fear. Don't want my Netflix to be buffering. That's the main thing. By the way, there's reports now that because there are so many streaming services that have, that all have separate requirements for, Amazon's pretty much the only one you can do a la carte with most things if you want to, which I do like. I like saying, this is $1.99. Yeah, that's worth it to me. This is good value for whatever that one episode is. But because it's, the big hit stuff that comes out, you have to have either an Amazon account, or you have to have a Netflix account, or you have to have a Hulu account, or Roku is now in the game, all these different services. So torrents are on the rise again. It's become what works so well with Netflix and to an extent with Amazon. Now they're eating themselves again because everyone's got an exclusive on House of Cards. You just can't get it if you're only an Amazon person. So they're forcing people back into illegality.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah. Makes sense.
Now, it may not matter to them, but that's something that net neutrality will take care of. Don't you worry.
Well, since we're talking about tech news, I did have one tech news thing. Yeah, this is a peculiarity. Listen to this presentation. This is from Bloomberg News. And tell me how this makes any sense to anybody. This is a Microsoft clip.
Microsoft says it has thwarted an attempt by hackers tied to the Russian military to disrupt the U.S. midterm elections. The company's digital crimes unit shut down 6 web domains meant to mimic sites victims might expect to get email from or visit, like Senate.group. Microsoft said it's sifting through evidence of the group's intentions after getting a court order to take over those domains.
I didn't understand that story at all.
You didn't understand what that presentation was?
I want to listen to it again.
Microsoft says it has thwarted an attempt by hackers tied to the Russian military to disrupt the U.S. midterm elections.
Now, she's saying hackers from the Russian military?
Microsoft has thwarted.
Yeah.
Microsoft somehow.
Yeah,
Microsoft says it has thwarted an attempt by hackers tied to the Russian military.
Oh, tied to the... they're tied with shoelaces. They're tied to the Russian military.
To disrupt the U.S. midterm elections. The company's digital crimes unit shut down 6 web domains meant to mimic sites victims might expect to get email from or visit, like Senate.group. Microsoft said it's sifting through evidence of the group's intentions after getting a court order to take over those domains.
Oh, okay. Wow. So if I understand correctly... This is a problem.
You think?
This is a real problem. So there were phishing domains, which would probably be like Microsoft with 2 T's instead of an FT at the end. I'll just give an example.
Yeah, something like that.
So it'll be email from, support at Microsoft.com.
Yeah.
And that could be, phishing email. So they went to the authorities and said, hey, these guys are tied to the Russians. Just change the DNS to our DNS servers, I guess. This is horrible.
To take over the domain somehow.
Yeah,
I
but
don't know
that can only be done through registration and DNS. That's what I'm saying. So,
that's crazy.
So they must have. I want to know. This warrants a lot of research.
I was thinking the same thing. There's something up with this. This is actually an interesting story that needs to be explored.
But this is something our
Trump.
No. This is something for our dude's name Ben, because the way the networks. Didn't we just give all that to the IETF, one of those, the telecom union? This is a while ago.
The UTA or whatever it is.
Yeah, exactly, the UTA. So
I don't know.
I want to.
This is a very sketchy story. She talks too fast. Very poor presentation.
But here's what's going on.
Hire somebody that you have to pay money to.
Someone could just come along and say, "Hey, that Curry.com, that could be used instead of my big company, Curry's, the electronics store in the UK chain, quite a big chain."
Yep.
We're very worried about this email that we saw floating around, and there was a phishing email. So hey, give his DNS, which I've had for 35 years. Give his DNS over to us. A dude's name Ben can figure this one out. This is very, very bad. That's the one thing you've got on the internet. The one piece that really is supposed to kind of be neutral is DNS.
Yeah, well, that won't last.
No. Please, whatever you do not send me a million alternatives for DNS. I know.
The useless alternatives.
You should host your own. We can do it in the cloud.
Host your own.
We have
DNS plus
hash-based DNS, DNSSEC. Yeah, I'm quite aware. Yeah, but we still have to stop this. This has to stop. Oh, I know, blockchain DNS. There we go. That'll fix it.
Blockchain DNS. That'd do it.
Well, since we're doing tech news in the mainstream media regarding the Russians. The Russians, who, by the way, apparently were responsible for all the negative press about the Star Wars movie that was a dud. I'm sure you saw those stories. You didn't?
Which movie are you talking about? Solo?
Yeah.
So I saw the movie, by the way.
Yeah?
Because we have a couple of our people, our producers, that work on the staff there at I think, that did some of the art and some other things for that movie. And they spoke fondly of it, so I decided to watch it.
And?
It's terrible. It's a terrible movie. It's boring and it doesn't make any sense, and it's a who cares movie. Whatever happened to Solo in those early days, it's just boring. It's dumb. Anyway, go on.
So from the Hollywood Reporter, Star Wars: The Last Jedi, negative buzz amplified by Russian trolls.
Jedi.
Last Jedi. I'm sorry, I was wrong.
I talked about, well, it's not Solo. Solo's worse.
I don't know shit about that.
I talked about The Last Jedi when I saw it. If you remember on this show, I said, I don't understand why it got so much positive reviews. It made no sense. It was completely off the rails 90% of the time. The storyline was full of holes. It was dumb.
There was an academic paper that found that half of the criticism aimed at director Rian Johnson was politically motivated. The paper, titled Weaponizing the Haters, The Last Jedi and the Strategic Politicization of Pop Culture Through Social Media Manipulation, examines the online response to 2017's Last Jedi, a movie that has come to be considered controversial amongst the larger fan base of the franchise.
That's because the movie stinks. It's got nothing to do with the director and everyone hating him.
Sure, but it was amplified online by Russian trolls.
Oh, brother.
Yeah, they report
it's
that.
It's unbelievable because the online activity for that movie when it came out was all positive.
Here is the latest Russian troll hacking link to our whatever from New Zealand. And the kicker is at the end.
When the World Anti-Doping Agency was hacked after investigating Russian athletes in 2016, fingers pointed to Russia. Now there's evidence it was to blame. And in a rare move, New Zealand's spy agency is speaking out.
What we've seen here is Russian military intelligence undertaking quite malicious and deliberate cyber activity.
There are 3 other examples too, including evidence Russia hacked and leaked emails from the Democrats during the US election in 2016. It's taken years for the GCSB to gather this evidence, but it hasn't been acting alone. It's been working with other Five Eye partners, Australia, the US, the UK and Canada. And the release of these findings has been coordinated to put pressure on Russia. Our Prime Minister joining her Australian counterpart in condemning the attacks.
It's important that as an international community, we call out those who aren't following the international rulebook, and here is an example of that.
New Zealand hasn't been affected by these attacks, but the GCSB says we can't relax.
We've certainly seen evidence of this same actor scanning New Zealand networks looking for vulnerabilities.
Another port scan brought to you in a minute and a half of breaking news about Russian trolls breaking in.
Fortunately, we have been able to identify and disrupt that activity before it's caused destruction.
Oh, the port scanning was going to cause destruction. We were able to interrupt it. Oh,
Are you kidding me?
No.
Causing
and this is the GCSB. This is the spooks of New Zealand, the Five Eyes. Making a big story about port scanning. Oh, my goodness. It's despicable,
Well, the fact that the public laps this crap up is beyond me.
Well, it's lack of knowledge. Everything's a glitch. Come on, there's no reporting.
Yeah, it's better to keep the public dumb and stupid, I guess.
Well, with this kind of reporting, it's working out just fine. You, the last of the true reporters, now wiped from the tech press universe.
Hey, me and Seymour Hersh.
Not bad to be in that company. And just for that, I'd like to thank you for your courage. You, the man who put the C in mac and cheese, John C. Dvorak.
Well, in the morning to you, Mr. Adam Curry, and also in the morning, all the boots on the ground, feet in the air, subs in the water, feet in the air, boots on the ground, and all the dames and knights out there.
In the morning to our troll room. Got some actual trolls in there today.
Space Force.
Yeah, some trolls in there. Very good trolls. That's no agenda. No, it's too much fun. NoAgendaStream.com is where you can listen to our show live as we produce it. It's exactly the same as you get it on the podcast, but you do get the benefit of the chat room. By the way, in our show notes, we also have the chat room synchronized with the audio in the YouTube video, which is pretty cool, along with some transcripts and all kinds of good stuff. It's the show notes continues to be an additional resource that you get gratis along with the show. I want to say in the morning to Illuminatia, no sooner had she heard us talking about her on the previous show than she created a piece of art that was the one we just had to choose. This was episode 1073, Boof a Lemon, the title of that. And this was
gross, man.
This was a very nice piece. There were a lot of lemon boofing pieces of art that just were funny.
A little bit much.
Yeah, funny for us, and also we tend not to use art and title in the same theme.
Yes, we have a couple of rules you should know. Unfortunately, you can't
know what we're going to title
if we use something at the very beginning of the show, which you can't hear until we produce the show, or if we use something at the very end of the show, which you really might hear, but it's already too late to get the art in. Generally speaking, and if it has our pictures on it, that's no good. And if it's going to be the art will supersede the title. That is very, very common. If the art has got the kind of our idea of what the title is going to be, but the art's better than it's so good that we have to pick the art, we have to come up with another title.
Yeah, actually, I would say that we always pick art first.
Yeah, art comes first, then title.
Yeah. But sometimes be like, oh, if we pick that art, we can't use that title I had in mind.
That happens, and sometimes we bump the art, but only if there's a really good piece of art to back it up.
As you can tell, there's a lot of work that goes into the post-production.
We have to sit here as we twiddle our thumbs and make these massive decisions.
Yes. So Illuminatia made a nice piece. It was the Godfather type font, type white on black background, and this was the monkeypox that we all have to be very afraid of. And it was, a silhouette figure of a monkey attacking a person. It had something really funny about it.
It was just kind of oddly amusing.
Yeah, but there were lots of good pieces. You even used one in the newsletter I saw. It's all lies.
Yeah, I like that piece.
You had 2 paragraphs doubled in the newsletter for some reason. Did anyone mention that?
Nobody mentioned it, of course.
Yeah.
Maybe that does happen, and I'll tell you why. Well, I won't tell you why. It's a mechanical thing. It shouldn't have happened.
No, it's okay. I mean, I'm just
surprised I didn't
mentioning
catch it.
Well, I'm always surprised that no one mentions it.
I don't think anybody cares about the newsletter.
I care.
I mean, sometimes they'll read some of the essays once in a while. Like 5 people will do that. And I had a really good point to make in this newsletter.
5?
I had the picture of Fred Trump's. I had the whole thing about
Fred Trump's house and everything.
His
it was
house,
good.
the little shack. The whole thing about Fred Trump being a billionaire empire, the Fred Trump empire, the New York Times.
In today's dollars.
It's just bull crap. I mean, anybody that laps that up is extremely stupid.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's start thanking some people. We have one executive producer, which is ironic since I put a special executive producer idea into the newsletter. Nobody picked up on it. We've been coming short with our executive producers for some reason. We get a lot of associates. So today we get one executive producer. Got really nothing to do with the newsletter or anything else. This is Sir Onimus of Dogpatch, who comes in every month.
Sir Onimus, he doesn't want titles, right? But besides just Sir, he's
got his Sir Onimus. Yeah, I know he'd be a duke by now.
I'm pretty sure.
Sir Onimus of Dogpatch in Lower Slobovia. He just wants to have his locations specified for some reason, and he makes it clear in this note from Sir Onimus. As a part of my nightly duty, I hosted a meetup in Lower Slobovia and passed the hat to fund something special as an engagement gift for Adam and to bridge the loss of income for John.
Oh, how sweet.
I ended up with a hat filled with seashells and beaded necklaces plus one smooth and polished stone.
Well, thanks.
I next traveled to Dogpatch to do the same thing, and the meetup quickly became a drink up. It was Dogpatch after all. Taking advantage of the situation, I traded the high-quality collectible seashells and rare beaded necklaces for a case of good old Dogpatchian Shine. I was able to sell the case of Shine by the bottle, all except one bottle as my commission, and I'm sending the proceeds to help fund John's age discrimination lawsuit and to buy a gift for Adam's engagement. I did keep the polished stone. I need some local cash for my next visit to Lower Slobovia. Enjoy, NJNK.
Wow. Thank you so much, Sir Onimus of Dogpatch in Lower Slobovia. And always a fine piece of content to go with his support of the show. That's nice.
Yes, he entertains us with his charming writing.
Yes, and we really appreciate the $100 in yesterday's dollars.
Yes, $1,000.50.
Fantastic. Gracias. Thank you.
Levy, onward to Levi, I think it's Levy Portinier in Lakewood, Colorado, $276.76. ITM John and Ab, thanks for the TBPITU. It's truly an unparalleled experience. I could really use a jobs karma as I will be interviewing for a dude named Ben position that I've been gunning for a long time.
I like the truly an unparalleled experience. I like that.
Yeah, I think he's probably right.
Yeah, for sure.
Jobs, and jobs. Let's vote for jobs.
You've got karma.
All right. Thank you very much, Monsieur Portinier.
Jeff McReynolds, $250.01 in Heath, Texas. He writes in, it's time for my annual birthday donation. I turned 51 last Tuesday, September 20th. I'm sure he's on the list. And because it's in yellowish.
Yep.
When I went to look at my donation records, I realized I hadn't donated since Big Show 1000. Bad on me, so I'm sending a larger than normal donation to make up for my being a slacker. I hope this helps as this is my favorite podcast, and I would be extremely depressed if it was gone.
You and me both.
Congrats to Adams on the engagement, hoping to get a live stream wedding for the No Agenda fans.
Yeah, let me say something. Because, of course, I'm a guy, I do the whole thing. I set it up. I think I really did a great job on the proposal. But I forgot, and then I was like, how let's plan the wedding. I'm like, what? What? What?
Do I have to do that?
What? So I'm thinking, that's a great idea. We stream the wedding so no one has to come to Austin. We can be actually in any location in the world. Everyone can participate. It's great.
In the apartment. In the Cludio.
We could be anywhere. And instead of throwing a big wedding party, we send everybody a piece of cake and a stream URL.
Yeah, that's romantic. Do it.
Yeah.
Send John C. Dvorak some jobs karma thanks to those bastards at PC Magazine. My PC Mag subscription has been canceled. I didn't know they had a subscription. I guess it's time to get serious about this podcasting thing. As for jingles, I'd like just the one, the Russian Connection spoof from the old Kermit the Frog Rainbow Connection.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And thanks for all you do, guys. I hope there's been interesting.
Yes. Thank you very much, Jeff. Thank you for your courage.
Why are there so many memes about Russia and what Trump is trying to hide? Conway and Spicer say things are nicer than what they're willing to confide. So many dudes think that this is just fake news. I know they're wrong way.
Let's play the whole thing today. It's almost done. Somewhere we'll find it. The Russia Connection.
The Donald, the Putin, and
jobs, and jobs. Let's vote for jobs.
You've got karma.
It is very well done.
That's very well done. One of our best. By one of our best.
Yes.
David Weed, Three Rivers, Michigan.
Walker Ostler did that.
Well, he's one of our best.
He is one of our best.
David Weed in Three Rivers, Michigan, 21312. Love the TBPITU. Best wishes to Adam and Tina for their future together, and best of luck to John in finding more lucrative gigs. And then he makes some.
It wasn't a gig; it was a career.
Big gig than PC Mag. Cleaning out the PayPal account and requesting jobs cover for producers, especially for the wife and myself, as both our jobs are currently a bit shaky. Please also put me on the birthday list for October 5th. I keep up the entertaining analysis. I'm always looking forward to the next show. I hope to cross over into knighthood sometime next year. Peace and love.
Oh, Beautiful. Thank you very much, David Weed.
And onward to Gretchen Wittig, parts unknown at $200. I'd like to arrange a producer credit posthumously for the Blue Knight, Brian Wojtek, who passed away suddenly, unexpectedly, and well before his time in August.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes. I first met Brian when I sat across the table from him and his lovely wife, Kareth, a couple of years ago at a No Agenda meetup in Dallas. Adam had driven the airstream of consciousness up from Austin for the meetup.
I remember, yeah.
Brian and Keith had just moved to Dallas from Chicago, but they didn't know a lot of people. As it turns out, Brian and I worked for the same company in the same office downtown. But it was our love of No Agenda that really brought us all together. In the happy hours, brewery visits, MLS games, and general good time since, I've come to know Brian as a truly genuine, thoughtful, caring, and generous person, an exemplary member of the Round Table. He and Kareth had been college sweethearts, and the way they've supported each other throughout their lives is the stuff of fairy tales. No jingles, but please dole out a generous round of karma to all of Brian's friends and loved ones. We will miss him dearly. I'd also like to request that his fellow knights and dames and all listening raise a glass and a farewell toast to our Blue Knight at today's knighting ceremony. Thanks for all you're doing to build this amazing community. Soon to be Dame G.
Oh, Gretchen, here, raising a glass. Absolutely. Well, that sucks.
Yeah, totally.
No. All right. Yes, a karma to send you on your way, our friend.
You've got karma.
Sir D in Holland's...
Hollandse Rading. Wow.
Hollandse Rading.
Interesting.
In Netherlands. ITM, gentlemen, an extra donation to show my support. He's in there with 200. Together with Sir Robert of Easton, Connecticut, who is visiting the lowlands, I'd like to host a meetup at my company near Utrecht, Friday, November 9th, 9/11 in Dutch.
Okay. Okay. So where is this going to be?
Details will follow.
Okay, so it's on the 9th. Wow, better hurry up. We only got 5 days.
It's a month.
Oh, it's November. I'm sorry, I thought it was October. I might be there. I might be.
You could pack them in.
It's actually kind of possible. Okay, that would be great. Sir D of the Hollandse Rading. And he says, for current and future Frisian Knights, they're from Friesland, the Wales of the Netherlands, could you please add Suikerbol and Jousterberenburg to the round table? Okay, done. That's some very, very traditional, old-school Frisian stuff.
I want to mention something here. You have never done a meetup in Holland.
I have. Long time ago, yes, long time ago.
Oh, that's when we when the meetups weren't a big
around episode 100 probably.
Oh yeah, that's too no. Nowadays you pack them in.
Yeah,
you should be able to get everyone from Holland, Belgium, Germany, Deutschland, and maybe some Swiss.
Some Belgians, Deutschland. Yeah, maybe a Brit or two. Although I don't know.
No, it's too much work.
Yeah, it is. Although, EasyJet is easy. Well, great. Thank you very much, Sir D. And yes, send us details so we can also send out. John can send something out targeted to the region.
Yeah, Eric will do the same. He's got a separate mailing list.
Oh, have you ever thought of merging?
I like the idea the way it works.
Yes. And then, holy moly, look who comes in.
And then, holy moly.
Yeah, it's holy moly. He's a knight. Yeah,
Velo.
Roderick Velo from the TPO podcast.
Yeah.
This is our guy.
Now, what's the name of that podcast? Because somebody asked me.
TPO.
Okay. In the morning, Adam and John, thanks for the superb and entertaining media construction these last weeks. When the circus goes nuts, your show is needed more than ever. I think this donation gives me a place at the round table. I'd like to take a seat as Sir Rod. Keep up the great work going. I don't think he's on the list.
He is not on the list. I'm putting it on now. Roderick Velo.
I guess he just wants to be Sir Velo.
No, Sir Rod.
Oh, no, Sir Rod.
Sir Rod. Now, we have a Sir Rod Adams, but not
it doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's fine. There's no Sir Rod, just like Sir Rod. Sherrod. Excellent. Holy moly. I'll say it again. I'm humbled.
Holy moly! You're going to say that again?
I'm humbled.
Holy.
I'm humbled. I'm humbled. This is a professional. This is a guy who I've worked with and I think is good.
Oh, he's one of your old drinking buddies?
From the pirate radio days.
A running buddy.
From the pirate radio days.
Oh. How old is he?
Well, my age.
Huh.
Maybe he's just 50, a little under. Watch him be 40. No, it can't be. He can't be more than 3-4 years younger than me. He may be older. I don't know. My age. Old. Old and white.
It's not a big question.
Old and white and a podcaster. That's marriage material right there, ladies. Where did all the old
white guys go? Are they in that valley they talked about in that Ayn Rand book? No, they've all become podcasters.
We have another show. Well, first I want to thank these people for being our executive producer, our one executive producer, and our associate executive producers, and future nights. This is going to be exciting. These titles are real. You can use them wherever titles are understood and accepted. And if there's ever an issue, we will gladly vouch for you. We still have that much clout in the entertainment industry. I will be thanking more people, $50 and above, in our second segment. And thank you again for supporting us. Our next show is coming up on Sunday. You can support us at
Dvorak.org/NA.
That's right. Where old white guys go to podcast. Spread the word.
Our formula is this. We go out, we hit people in the mouth. Order. Shut up, slave.
Do you want to mention here that we need a dude named Ben?
Yeah, we do actually. November 2nd, John will be interviewing a A-level artist, person. Let me put it that way.
Person, not artist.
See, I'm trying to confuse him, and then you like kind of.
Well, but okay.
An A-level person.
You're right.
An A-level person in New York City. Just like when I interviewed Pachenik, we need a dude named Ben or a dudette named Bernadette who understands audio, has a microphone with either appropriate setup with Skype or processing with a laptop. We'll set everything up with you to test it first. Someone who's in the area who can go be on the production end. So
in Manhattan.
In Manhattan, a true production job, which I think includes another credit as well.
Yeah.
It includes a
credit.
Yeah, includes a credit on the show. Which I think we did that for we did. When we did the thing in Florida. So November 2nd, if you're in New York City and you really know how to do this and you've done mics and you've done a hey, are you a podcaster? Are you in Manhattan? November 2nd, give us a call.
You'll enjoy. I decided not to mention who this is going to be, but I can't figure out why I shouldn't tell you. But I'll think about it. Maybe mention. But you would like to meet this guy.
Yeah, and it'll be fantastic to listen to.
Well, hopefully.
Yeah, I think so.
A new book coming out. That's the kind of the tie-in that lets you do these things.
Let me ease us into Kavanaugh for a second without playing anything from Kavanaugh. But Lindsey Graham, who now everyone, of course, has noticed how Lindsey's perked up and he's found his voice. I would actually say, Lindsey, 2020. Think about it.
Well, he did want to be president this time, and maybe he's learned a lot from Trump.
He has, and I will prove it as he was on, I don't know, some bull crap.
Well, before you do that, I have a clip I want to play.
Well, remember I said I was going to ease us into it?
Yeah, this will ease us into it because this is one of the things you pointed out in the last show, which is, while he is maybe running for president, the gay jokes.
Oh, yeah, about Lindsey Graham. Yeah. And this is more people are starting to see this, but it's everywhere. I've seen compilages of everybody making fun of Lindsey Graham with a gay joke.
Well, here's Jimmy Kimmel.
Some of the Republican senators put on quite a show of fabricated outrage today, in particular Lindsey Graham. Once Dr. Ford was safely out of the room, Lindsey Graham really laid down the law. He warned Democrats that if this is the new normal, if this is the way it's going to go, they better watch out for their Supreme Court nominees. As if Merrick Garland isn't out there somewhere judging a dog show right now. And once he got some camera time, somebody must have told Lindsey Graham Donald Trump was watching, because he lit up like someone left a thumbtack on Liberace's piano bench.
You vote no.
Oh, brother.
Yeah. Yeah, oh, brother. I'd say the same thing.
So next time someone talks about the LGBTQ community, which of course should be LGBTQQIAAPK, you should tell them, buzz off. There's no community. That's nasty.
Yeah, I agree.
But the thing is, everyone, they're tone deaf to it. Everyone who's doing this.
No, it's hilarious.
I mean, I just don't, I'm like, how can you not see what you're, okay. Remind me to come back to this after this Lindsey Graham thing, because there was another tone deaf moment in the UK. So Lindsey Graham's on some damn show, and let's see, what is this first one? He comes out, he needs a little work. He can't. The timing is a little off. I didn't quite hit it with the punchline, but he did something pretty interesting when it was talking about Judge Kavanaugh, and in this case, comparison to things that have happened in the past.
Bad apology.
If the president is listening to you right now,
and he could be, because he watches a lot of television.
If he's listening right now, what would you say to him about his performance last night, in which he openly disparaged a person who is alleging that she was a victim of sexual assault by a Supreme Court nominee?
I said, hey, I can figure this out. Everything he said was factual. He's frustrated his nominee has been treated so badly.
Factual is a personal degrading attack on someone who's a private citizen.
Here's what's personally degrading. This is what you get when you go through a trailer park with a $100 bill.
This is what you get when you go through a trailer park with a $100 bill, which, of course, the audience went, oh.
You see, this is not the first time this has happened.
That's actually a reference to something somebody said.
And James Carville. See,
this is where he screwed it up. It was a great trap. It was a great idea, because that's actually what James Carville said about, was it Paula Jones?
Yeah, I think it was Paula Jones or one of the other women that Clinton...
Yeah, he said, this is what you get when you run through a trailer park with a $100 bill. And the audience like, oh! But then Lindsey couldn't pay it off by saying, yeah, that's what James Carville said about Paula Jones, Bill Clinton. But he's getting there.
Well, at least he might have a writer.
Yeah, but you got to have delivery. You got to have timing.
Well, he needs a coach. He needs a writer and a coach.
Yeah.
It doesn't take a genius to do this sort of material.
No, it doesn't, but he's close. Here's one other piece from this.
So President Trump went through a factual rendition that I didn't particularly like, and I would tell him, knock it off. You're not helping.
Knock it off, Trump.
But it can be worse. You can actually kill somebody's cat and puncture their tires to get them to shut up. So, what he said.
I don't even understand what that means.
Well, you don't remember Kathleen Willey and Juanita Broderick, so you don't. I do.
I don't remember the thing about the cat. But what's the point? The point is that Donald Trump could have said something even worse, so we should be thankful.
The point is that we've come a long way. We've come a long way since 1990.
All right. It's fine.
No, wait a minute. Whether you like it or not, I really don't care. Here's the point. I have seen what happened to these women in 1998 that came forward. I don't like what the president said last night. I'm the first person to say, I want to hear from Dr. Ford. I thought she was handled respectfully. I thought Kavanaugh was treated like crap. Yeah, well, boo yourself.
Well, boo yourself. Okay. Here's the only coaching Lindsey Graham needs.
Well, hold on. Who was interviewing him?
It was the Atlantic Council, I think, one of those stage things they video and put online.
Okay. All right. I just want to know it was on a TV show.
Well, does it matter anymore if it's on video?
Well, it doesn't, but I just want to know who it was, because the guy was kind of a douche.
So here's my advice for Lindsey. It kind of just hit me. And if he really wants it bad enough, even if you're not, just come out as gay. Man, America's first gay president. Fantastic. And he can do that stuff. Oh, yeah, well, boo to you. I mean, can you just imagine that? how cool that would be?
Well, I don't think he'd be America's first gay president. He'd be America's third.
First openly gay, running on gay platform president.
Yeah, he'd be the third gay president.
I'm just saying, it's, maybe he should try. If he's not gay, he should give it a shot.
Yeah.
This
Why not?
It's not a bad strategy.
Well, he should get the gay vote, you'd think. But the way things go, because he's not a gay Democrat, I think he might not even get the gay vote.
Yes, bad gay. Yeah, you're right. He's the wrong kind of gay. Well, I still think it's a great idea because he's got the fire. He's like, well, boo to you too.
He's finally getting it. Yeah, he's finally got his backbone.
And he'd say to Trump, hey, cut it out, Prez. I like him. I think he's got something going for him.
Well, he's definitely better than he was a year ago.
Yeah. Well, sometimes this happens, when after McCain passed away, then
his mentor.
Yeah, it was time for him to see. Before he could snatch the pebbles from his hand, he spread his wings and flew away. He is the new Maverick. Or Maverick.
Well, I got it. Well, let's see what else we got here. I have a couple of things. I do have the Democracy Now's little thing about this letter that showed up that Kavanaugh supposedly wrote. I don't have a lot of Kavanaugh clips, so if you want to do a little
remember, I led you into the Kavanaugh with my Lindsey Graham. That was the whole idea.
The whole Kavanaugh thing is kind of like crapped out, it seems, at this point.
Well, that's because of the stupid. Then do you think maybe Trump reinserted that story into the New York Times just to get everyone talking about something else? It was so.
No, there's no way. No. That I think there was a mistake doing that story about Fred Trump, the billionaire empire guy.
Yeah.
I think that was mistimed. I think it could have held off. I think that was just done to hurt Trump in the election or hurt the candidates running, that were Republicans. It's an anti-Republican thing.
But it was dumb. It didn't work and it was dumb.
The only one I have for Kavanaugh that's kind of new is his letter, the supposed letter. And this is the FFF Bart letter, which has some funny lines in it. By the way, there's some clippables in here. I should have ISO'd a couple of these.
Lawyers for another Kavanaugh accuser, Debbie Ramirez, said Tuesday the FBI had not interviewed another 20 witnesses Ramirez has identified. Meanwhile, the New York Times published a letter Kavanaugh wrote to his high school classmates in the summer of 1983 as he planned a Beach Week celebration on Maryland's coast. The letter, which Kavanaugh signed FFFFF Bart, urges the classmates to, quote, warn the neighbors that we're loud, obnoxious drunks with prolific pukers among us, unquote. Kavanaugh was 18 at the time. Maryland had just raised its drinking age to 21. He signed the letter Bart, not Brett. Bart O'Kavanaugh is the name that his friend Mark Judge used in his book, Wasted.
Good work, Nancy Drew.
FFFF Bart. What kind of a name is that?
Well, FFF, the whole FFF thing was supposed to stand for F them, like a couple of F's to them, then forget them. Yeah, it's derogatory towards chicks, man. It's funny Bart. When you're in high school, Bart? Man. Why Bart? I don't know. He was from the 80s. Maybe he was. Maybe it's a Bart Simpson reference.
It might be, but
it's
why?
The same time.
Yeah, you're right. Could be a Bart Simpson thing. So here's a good story.
Wait, a question. Is this guy going to get confirmed? Do you think this is going to happen?
Well, this is today. We have to make the decision. Is he or not?
Is it today? I thought it was tomorrow.
It's Thursday. It's supposed to be Thursday.
I thought the vote was tomorrow.
Okay, well, that's better. I hope it is tomorrow.
Because, I'm still thinking Trump doesn't care, wants to get Barrett on.
I don't think Trump cares. He would probably be able to leverage whatever happens. The vote is on Friday. Okay, well, that's tomorrow. Yeah, okay, well, I'll keep. Well, let's sit down. Here, the two of us are these. We follow this closer than pretty much anybody, especially news media. What do you think?
I still don't see him making it through. And it kind of depends on how the cookie crumbles, but for Trump's agenda, in my mind, it will be best if he didn't go through. I
agree.
I
think it would be best if he didn't make it through, and Trump's probably counting on Murkowski
now, they can also
Susan Collins.
The vote. I mean, he can still withdraw before the vote. Trump could withdraw him before the vote.
I doubt it. That would no. He has to either. It's got to be thumbs up,
but
thumbs down.
in the overall scheme of he's a Bush guy, he's a Yaley, he's clearly a dick.
Yeah,
why would you want this guy in the Supreme Court? Forget about all that's going on right now.
They want him on because of his decisions. He's made like 300 plus decisions that all really appeal to the conservative heart.
Did you see this Telegraph article in the UK? Let me see. Where is it here? The unbearable dishonesty of Brett Kavanaugh. And it's from a journalist who writes...
Oh, yes. He used to be the editor of the Telegraph.
Yes. Who writes about his run-in with Kavanaugh when Kavanaugh was on the Kenneth Starr team. And according to what this guy wrote, was strong-arming people into, like changing their testimony, official 302, FBI 302 testimony. There was all kinds of threats going on, and it was specifically about the Vince Foster murder. A suicide. And, where the FBI lost the pictures that showed possibly a neck wound instead of him shooting himself in the head twice with a gun in his left hand. And there's all this stuff surrounding Vince Foster, which, and I bring it up to people. They go, "No, really? Really? You're going to bring that up again?" I said, it's really got some loose ends there. It truly is. I'm not saying, the Clintons killed him, but of course the Clintons killed him. That's how it works. You don't be friends with the Clinton clan. So that may come up again. I don't know, the stuff that may come up.
No, so I don't think it's coming up. I think the vote will be taking place and it'll be over. And the whole thing with Vince Foster and the fact that Kavanaugh seems to be on the Clinton side, maybe an operative for the Clintons. It's possible, but I'm guessing.
Hey, here's one. Are there any Republicans who could flip and say no that are currently up for re-election?
Only the two women.
They're the only ones up for re-election?
No, they're not up for re-election. They're just the two guilty women that did have to.
So no one is voting on senator. These people have to be up.
They're already set. There's already laid out. There's 3 Democrats who are the ones that could be voted out of office if they don't make the right decision, and the 2 Republican women. There's 5 people that are on the fence. They've already identified all of them.
Okay.
I guess. Jeff Flake says he's voting for the guy no matter what. So Flake is not on this list anymore.
Flake didn't say that.
Yeah, when he did, I don't have the clip in front of me, but yeah, he said it.
He said if we do the week, as long as we have a week, the week of
and they
FBI.
Did.
Yeah. By the way, here's a clip from Access Hollywood regarding Senator Flake, who and I missed this and I'm pissed. The Global Citizens Festival took place again this past weekend in New York. I'm angry. I love watching those globalist douchebags.
Oh, they're great.
Here's a little Access Hollywood report, which, of course, is giggly.
All right, we know somebody who ran into Senator Jeff Flake. LaKendra Tooks rejoins us once again. She was at the Global Citizens Festival this weekend.
That's right.
And he was there as well.
He was there, and he wasn't in an elevator this time, but him and Senator Chris Coons were on stage together. I thought it was fantastic. A Republican senator and a Democratic senator coming together on stage. The whole crowd could feel it in that moment.
Did they have
and when
sex?
I saw him, I was just, everybody was clamoring around him like he was a rock star. Everybody was shaking his hand, saying thank you. So many women were saying thank you. Even I said, I thanked him.
You got a selfie.
I took a selfie. I got a hug. I said, you're going to get this hug whether you want it or not. I'm going to give you this hug.
Good for you. Well, Senator Flake also was on 60 Minutes this weekend. Busy for...
Fine. Yeah, he's a rock star.
Let's play the clip that nobody's playing. Play this one. This is a local story. Jeff Flake's kid.
But first, a disturbing video on YouTube. Senator Jeff Flake's son putting a gun to his head and pretending to kill himself. The video surfacing after this teenager was caught tweeting derogatory terms for blacks, Jews, and homosexuals. Thanks for choosing us this afternoon. I'm Katie Rammel.
And I'm Steve Irvin. The senator is apologizing for his son's insensitivity. ABC 15's Navita Fergani joining us from the newsroom. Navita, a lot of people are saying this shows just how tough it is for parents to raise kids with all of the technology out there.
Yeah, things are a whole lot different right now. Kids have access to so many things, and even those free apps on your child's phone allow them to do some pretty creative but sometimes pretty disturbing things. And the best advice is to stay one step ahead of your child and talk to them when problems surface, which is something that is happening probably right now in Senator Flake's home after his son posted on YouTube and Twitter some very inappropriate comments towards blacks, Jews, and homosexuals, using the N-word in some of his tweets. And most recently, disturbing video of his son holding a gun to his head and pretending to pull a trigger. There is no foolproof way from preventing your child from using these sites, posting, or even using violent apps. But it is important to explain to your kids that once something goes on cyberspace, there is no way to take it back.
Don't put it on cyberspace. Okay, first of all, it was a plastic toy gun, which is just, it doesn't matter, but it wasn't mentioned in the report. She keeps saying, put a gun to his head, put a gun to his head. It was a very obvious gray plastic gun.
Yeah. But, you know, he's demeaning the ethnic groups. And
but I didn't.
He's out of control. I mean, this is an example. This is poor parenting. That's what it is.
That's
saw really the point.
I saw all the videos. I looked at the tweets. And it just looks like a typical kid who's all into the hip hop culture. That's what that is.
Yeah, I think it's.
I don't know if it's poor parenting,
culture, but it never happened to my kids. Your daughter wasn't out there putting stuff like this online.
No, my daughter has done lots of things that are really I'm not proud of.
No. Poor parenting.
Poor parenting. I'm a horrible parent. No, I don't know. You know, power and fame. It's an aphrodisiac. Jeff Flake, you know, he could get a little overwhelmed. He's at the Global Citizens Festival.
I did get a letter from somebody who met Flake. Unfortunately, I don't have it as part of today's show, but I'll bring it up for the next show. And he says the guy's the guy's so full of himself. He's like, you know, he's just not even in the room.
Yeah.
So,
hey, I went back and checked, and I don't know if you have any update on the San Francisco Transit Terminal.
Oh yeah.
You have an update?
I don't have a clip, no.
Oh,
I have a verbal update.
It definitely is American steel that was used.
Yeah, well, let's reuse Chinese steel from now on, I guess. I don't know.
I mean, is that just an engineering mistake, or how does that happen?
I would assume so.
Like in the actual structure of the building, it was.
I think it was designed poorly, or they spec'd it out wrong. I mean, it's always possible.
That's pretty fundamental to this whole deal.
Well, the whole thing is California is filled with California is basically a corrupt state, and so when something like this happens, it doesn't surprise anybody.
Right. So big news here in Austin, as the Army Futures Command has finally come to town with 500 people to start with. We have the Impact newspaper, which is a weekly that everyone gets, and just been big front cover page. And so they've taken possession of a building, which is not far from here, up 8th Street. So they have 500 people to start. But here's the kicker: they are bringing in, as reported by Impact, $16 billion to invest in startups in Austin.
You're screwed, dude.
It's wow. I mean, no wonder Kim Jong-un had that map with the missiles pointing it to Austin. He knew what was up. This is where it's at. We got Spooks, we got Army Futures Command, we got Google, we got
Facebook,
Facebag. We have Amazon's headquarters for Whole Foods is here, who are not happy. By the way, I don't know if you saw this note. We got a note from a YouTube reviewer who works here in Austin. And did you see that note?
No, I did not. You may as well read it.
Yes, Private Dingle. Hey, Adam and John, I live in Austin and work at one of these content moderator farms for YouTube. You guys are right on the money and on topic so far. And if you'd like any more insight, I'd love to provide details and answer any questions you may have. So get ready with your questions, John. Full disclosure, I am only a bottom rung tier 1, quote, agent, but have access to the YouTube policies we implement. All the juicy Alex Jones banning related details are unfortunately only for full-time employees and up. Isn't that interesting? Yeah. Obviously, I'm not an FTE. YouTube contracts a company that hires workers who then get contracted by a different company. That's how I'm in the business. A buddy worked for Facebook in Austin in the exact same way, dealing with the same companies. We got to find out who these companies are.
Yes, this is what we should be doing.
I started in this project back in January and was assigned a queue after training, which is basically a school of videos that you specialize in through the training. I began in the adult content queue. Yes, there's a no agenda producer for you, ladies and gentlemen. Straight to the porn.
I thought there was no adult content allowed on YouTube.
Right. Well, these are the guys who look at it and then decide if it can be up or not.
Okay.
But as of about a month ago, I got reassigned to the violent extremism queue.
Yeah.
Which is video uploads of recruiting and or glorifying terrorist organizations, cartels and gangs, lone wolves, general incitement of violence, etc. Well, it's pretty broad. Barring all the obvious horrible visuals, the porn queue was much more subjective policy-wise. I'd love to see the porn queue policy.
I bet you would.
Most of the agents I work with now are Arabic speakers, 80 to 90%, from all over the Middle East, and seem well-equipped mentally to handle the material. It's their culture. I consider myself mentally resilient as well, and all is good so far. Keep checking in. We are your dead man switch. If I don't see an email from you at least once a week, I'm going to be concerned. I apologize if I'm all over the place, as there's a lot to clarify. I'll leave it at that for now. Please feel free to reply with any questions on the subject if you guys are interested. Thanks again to you and John. Yeah, I love this. We'd love to know a little bit more about the policies, and and obviously we can keep you anonymous and do whatever we need to do. But please check in once a week. We are your dead man switch for sure. I want to make sure you're healthy.
Yeah, I probably have a few questions about one thing or another.
Well, let's compile a list and we'll send it off to him.
I mean, how much do you have to watch before you realize it? The first question I'd have, and I just mentioned this right now, is do they inform the authorities when they see anything that's off?
Good question. Good question.
And then do the authorities watch it?
And my question would be, how many days did you work there before you lost all faith in humanity, would be my question. Because that, when you see what goes up and comes down or never makes it up, I bet it really messes with your perception of the world. Yeah, we're horrible as people.
Well, of all the people you know, who that you personally know, and I would say the same thing for myself, actually would put up some gross video.
No, I wouldn't say that. But of all the people I know, including you and me, who would say something horrible or mean about somebody in public, as long as it's on a social network, or if you say the name Mark Pugner, yeah, I think everyone's like that. We're ugly. Yes.
You say something mean about somebody's not the same as putting a head chopping video on and chuckling over it.
To tell that to YouTube and Twitter, they'll take you right down. Yeah.
Anyway, hang in there.
It's not going to happen. I have a health update because I've got something very spectacular that I wanted to share with you. I was at the voodoo doctor for the ragweed, which he fixed. He said, actually, he put me back on a little bit of quercetin, which is, which I take for the mold because it's a inflammation reducing herb.
Yeah, so it's very famous stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's supposed to be good antioxidant, makes you live longer.
Yeah, and he put me on, I think, Siloplex or some other potion in a pill. But then we were talking about stuff, and he says, "Hey, I went to this seminar for a guy who was at UT, and about some brain and memory enhancing stuff. And I said, I'm fine, man. I take B12. She says, this is better than B12. You'll notice it immediately. And I do. Immediately. I'm not kidding. I feel there's clarity.
But you're susceptible to the placebo effect to an extreme.
Well, I want you to write this down because you should try these.
I'm going to do it.
It's ginkgo, Ginkgo, ginkgo. Yeah. Actually, ginkgo forte. And Bacopa complex.
Yeah, Bacopa. I've got Bacopa.
You got Bacopa? Okay.
Yeah.
Do you take it regularly?
No, I take it every once in a while. I've had it for a while.
Well, he says that if you take both and then you run out of one, then you'll know if it was the ginkgo that was working for you or the Bacopa. So I'm not sure. But you think the Bacopa, maybe it's just an herb, right? Bacopa?
Yeah, it's Buzzkill Jr. Turned me onto it.
There you go. The scientist. Oh, yeah. He's looked at the molecule structure and he's like, it's just like meth. This is great. Mm-hmm. Okay, if Buzzkill Jr. approved, then I'm pretty sure the Bacopa is the magic.
Maybe.
Just a little tip here from your No Agenda show.
All right. Well, I've got a couple of things here. There's one thing I found very interesting. A very long clip. I cut it down to 2 short clips and took out the middle because the middle is just too long. But this is Michael Caputo, who used to work on the Trump campaign, and he thinks he knows.
Oh, this is the guy. This is the guy who lost a lot of money, was sued. Didn't he have to go in and he was being accused of all kinds of stuff?
I don't know. I don't think so. I think you're thinking of Cohen.
No,
Caputo maybe. But the point is that he thinks he knows who the letter writer is who wrote that anonymous
letter. Oh, the anonymous letter.
And I think I know maybe who he might be talking about, and I'm going to mention it.
All right, joining me right now, former Trump campaign director Michael Caputo. So, Michael, good to see you. Do you think the White House is giving credibility to the writer by these high-level officials coming out and saying it's not me?
Well, I think each one of those people has to do that, and the media, the New York Times in particular, has set that up. And the writer itself, I believe the writer's a coward, but also I believe they're diabolical. I mean, the way they wrote that op-ed, or the ghostwriter wrote the op-ed, they dropped in words like lodestar to indicate that it might be Mike Pence, and words like first principles, very common to the speeches that General Mattis gives to throw some shade at him. And then they dropped in that off-the-rails comment that comes from the Woodward book that's attributed to General Kelly. And that's, to me, gaslighting the president, which is very diabolical.
But if
to believing it's one of his key aides is really plotting against him.
But if it's insignificant, why is it the White House keeps talking about it, keeps throwing out its top-level folks to say or comment about it? It wasn't me. I don't know anything about this. It's a terrible thing. But they keep bringing it up, which only gives this writer more power, does it not?
I'll tell you, I'm not one of the ones that believes this is insignificant. I've been screaming from the top of my lungs for several weeks now that we're going to lose the House of Representatives, the Democrats are going to take over, and that they're going to impeach the president in the first quarter of 2019. This op-ed, to me, is part of that strategy. This person, who I believe is in the senior ranks of the administration, wrote this in order to try and dampen turnout of the deplorables who would normally go out in droves to vote for the president's candidates, the Republican candidates for Congress in particular, so we can maintain control of the House. Let me tell you, Frederica, I'm fairly certain I know who it is. I've been, going through this parlor game just like everybody else has, and I'm also completely 100% certain that the person who wrote this is on the list of people who said they didn't write it.
Okay,
so we got a couple of possibilities here. Now, in the next clip, there's another clip missing because it's too long. I just left it out, and I'm going to say what was in it. He says this person is a department head, and it's in a department where all the Trump supporters were ousted.
IRS.
Well, it could be the IRS. It could be the IRS. I didn't consider the IRS. Was all the Trump supporters ousted from the IRS?
Probably not.
Well, somewhere they were ousted. I know one place where I think a lot of them were ousted because they're reorging the whole place.
Oh, the Parks and Recreation.
No, it's a TV show. Well, anyway, let's play the second half of this, and then there's he has one tell, which gives me a little hint.
I believe the White House is getting closer to it. I love the fact that Mike Pence is standing up. Well, I believe they're getting there. I have my opinions. I started with this. Who is the person who I believe hates the president the most? Who is the person in the administration who has screamed about him in their own private office and gone forward and purged their entire office of Trump people? That's where I'm looking at. The language of the op-ed, I think, is useless to look at because it's a ghostwriter. If we did like we did, remember when Primary Colors came out and they actually compared the writing through a software program and discovered that it was Klein that wrote that book. I believe that would be useless in this regard because ghostwriters write for dozens and dozens of people. It's not going to get us any closer. We'll be able to identify the ghostwriter, but then we'd have to get the ghostwriter to tell us who this person is.
All right. Are you thinking it's a matter of days, weeks, or months when the public knows?
I'll tell you this. I think that, first of all, this person will never admit it because, in my mind, the author of this op-ed believes that she is a hero to the American people, that she, in fact, should be president instead of Donald Trump. And in my mind, I believe that the president should move forward with a team of people to discover who this is, but the president himself should focus on the midterms because we're going down a rabbit hole, by gaslighting the president into believing his closest aides with those clever words dropped in that op-ed are plotting against him. They're sending him down a rabbit hole instead of off onto the hustings where he should be campaigning for Republican candidates so that we keep the House and embolden the Senate in support of the president's policies. If he focuses on this instead of the campaign trail, we are in real trouble.
All right. Well, he said she. That was pretty obvious.
Okay. Well, so I just kind of did a few things here to kind of, for one thing, the writer was a professional or the ghostwriter, whoever it was, but they had the idea of putting these little phrases in, which we spotted when we read the letter. Mm-hmm. Lodestar and the rest of it. So the thing was very well structured. It was structured professionally at a level where that was it was non-trivial. It was high end. Then it was printed by the New York Times, which is connected to different agencies already. And they took it no problem.
Right.
I mean, there's no way one's going to get busted.
Sure.
So there's a connection to the New York Times. And there's one head of one of these major operations in the government who has a journalism degree.
Who is this?
Gina Haspel.
Yeah, that would make sense because the connection with CIA, she's tightly connected to Brennan. He said only nice things about her coming in. Very good point. She's CIA. It's the defense against the spooks. We know this. Yeah. We know this is where it's at. Oh yeah, I can see that. Lodestar would work, and she has a military background as well. That might be something she would say. Yeah. Well, good for her. We'll put it on her epitaph. Good for you, Gina.
I don't know what they're going to do. The thing that's going on, which is kind of, I've been thinking about writing about it, but there's really not much to write about. But there's a reorg that they're doing at the CIA, which is where they're getting rid of Trump people, of course.
And they're recruiting heavily. She's out everywhere recruiting.
So there is the CIA did, if you recall, Trump gave a speech to the CIA regulars.
Yes.
During his campaigning.
Yeah, that was right after everyone, how dare he do that in front of the wall with all the stars.
Yeah, there was that. But he got seemed like a warm reception. I wonder if half those people are still working there that went to see Trump speak. So it just makes a lot of sense that it's a she, by the way, that the guy mentioned.
Yeah.
And there's only so many she's, and most of them are like Betsy DeVos. I don't think she wrote this letter.
No.
Or the woman that's the head of Health and Human Services. Seems unlikely. Nielsen.
Oh, yes.
It doesn't seem likely. And so it just fits. And Jean has brought in some of her own people, which are ex-Brennan people. And they're continuing the Brennan program of modernization. If you look into it, it's the creation of this new data, the DDI. It's a new department that everything's going to be centralized. So now if you want to out some spooks, you can. It's all right there. You just have to hack this one group. And you can get rid of all these guys in the field. I mean, you have to remember that it was Petraeus and Brennan and one other guy that were all in office in 2010 under the Obama administration that got like 20 guys executed in China. The entire China
all our
CIA
guys,
contingent was killed.
Our guys, and gals.
And who was running the CIA at the time? It was these Obama hacks.
Here, let's listen to that. Remember, I found the clip of Trump at the CIA. Want to listen? Just see if there's anything there.
Yeah, sure.
Like if Tom Brady's on the cover, it's one time because he won the Super Bowl or something, right? I've been on for 15 times this year. I don't think that's a record, Mike, that can never be broken. Do you agree with that? What do you think? But I will say that they said, it was very interesting, that Donald Trump took down the bust, the statue.
Oh, that was just all a campaign shit.
Yeah, nothing there.
Nothing there.
Anyway,
well, I think that's a very, very, that's a big possibility to her. That's fun. Well, good. By the way, Void Zero and Sir Bemrose have already delivered the answer to me. At Microsoft, the way they capture the domain is they go to the feds, and then the feds, I guess they get a court order, and they served a court order against VeriSign, who was a very big registrar, and they turned the DNS over, but they turned it over to Microsoft, which that part I'm a little unsure about how that works. It's like, what? Turn it over to me and forward it to the No Agenda show. I mean, come on.
Yeah, why don't we have the same opportunity?
Why, that's right.
They're just giving it away to
It's
Microsoft.
Racist. It's totally racist. Can't believe those guys. All right, I got a beef with John Cleese. And the main crux of John Cleese of Monty Python fame. And many
been
other.
Out and about. He's leaving Great Britain to move to.
No. He needs to leave because I've seen him on 4 shows now. I'm leaving. I'm getting out. I'm leaving. He's Brexiting Brexit. I'm leaving. And so now he's on the morning show, it was BBC or Channel 4, and I'm leaving. And there's a couple of oddities we need to discuss. First, the reason why he's leaving.
Why he's decided he's going to be boycotting Britain.
So you're leaving us?
Well, I'm going to buzz off in November because I'm fed up with the corruption in this country, and in particular with just how awful the newspapers are, and how the way in which they censor news, make sure that people in England don't know certain things, and particularly anything critical to them. Because I don't think you can run a democracy until you have reasonably reliable information out there to help people make up their minds how they're going to vote.
But do you think, in one sense, though, the nice thing about this country is that people can express all sorts of opinions, and we're able to do that, which isn't true in other countries around the world?
Well, it's probably not true in Russia or Myanmar or someone like that, but I don't think what people don't know, for example, is that quite recently the European Broadcasting Union did a poll of 33 European countries, and they asked 1,000 people in each country, what's your level of trust in the printed media? And England, UK, became bottom.
So it was very low.
Not very low, bottom.
But maybe we're not very trustworthy. Do you think we're
hang on a second. 4 years in a row.
This clip.
Not one fluke.
No, it's almost the same story.
4 years in a row, we have the press that's the least trusted press in Europe.
Now, it's the same story, but the next piece is different from his usual appearances because now he's starting to piss me off. Remember what he just said is the press is horrible in the UK. We're the bottom of the 33, which is a nice little number there.
Yeah, I like that.
We're the bottom.
But you're moving too close to the States and where a lot of your work is, but of course they have quite an interesting leader over there as well. Would you think that the political situation, does that appeal to you more over there, John?
Oh, no. I wouldn't go to America at the moment, and the place is stark staring mad.
Okay, Cleese. Noted. Bro.
I mean, the first time that Trump has ever spoken to an intelligent audience that wasn't dependent
Now, remember, he just was very clear how poorly the news is communicated. Let's see what he's about to say.
On his patronage was at the United Nations General Assembly 2 or 3 days ago when they laughed at him. That's the first time he's ever spoken to an intelligent audience. Normally
he coped very well with that, though. You have to sort of. Well, his comeback was very. His comeback, I thought.
Well, yes, but that's trivial, Ben. It's true that he said a nice remark. He said, "I wasn't expecting that."
Yeah.
But the fact that the leader of the free world, in quotes, talks to the United Nations about his great achievements, and they all laugh at him, that's important.
Now, is that exactly what happened, John C. Dvorak?
No, we played the real clip from the United Nations. That's not what happened.
So here's the guy bitching about the press and the way news is.
The press is the one who reported it that way.
Yeah, but then this is his truth, and he's laughing. And hey, I'm boycotting you. I'm boycotting Monty Python. I'm boycotting Python the Code. Screw you.
I'm not coding in Python.
I'm not coding in Python anymore. He did have they did do something which he complied with, which I have to say I'm surprised.
By the way, you're right. I played this clip. It was almost word for word.
Almost word for word. I know.
About a month ago. He comes out and it's like a scripted bit.
It's the same appearance over and over again. And the first one was when the mic fell off. We didn't even play the clips then. Anyway, so then they do something which I find very rude. Is you have a comedian on or funny person. Hey, before you go, tell us a joke. Which is, it's so rude. You know, I've seen people go up to singers, hey, sing something for me. Why don't you just kiss my ass? You know. Anyway, they do it and he complies, and it was pretty good.
Now, just before we go, John Cleese, you've got to give us a joke to end on.
A joke. One I heard last week, which I really love, is how can you tell whether someone is a vegan?
I don't know. How can you tell?
Because they tell you again and again.
I'm going to show my support by donating to No Agenda. Imagine all the people who could do that. Oh, yeah, that'd be fab. Yeah, oh, No Agenda in the morning.
Let's thank a few people for helping us out, starting with Sir Uncle Dave, the night of the retired old farts in Las Vegas, Nevada. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And since he did send a check in, I do have a note from Uncle Dave. And Uncle Dave is one of the old mainstays on the Dvorak blog. He used to work in the gaming industry.
Oh, in Vegas, yeah.
Yeah, he used to. He's got good information from him. Although other matters have been in the news lately, I thought you might be interested in my travels into the medical insurance land. It's almost been 6-month anniversary of my insane car accident that I still marvel at having survived. The Thursday before I bought a newer used car, on Friday I retired from my job, and on Monday I set off for a road trip. The next morning I was driving along just fine. Next thing I remember, I woke up wondering what happened to my car, which was lying on its side, all airbags deployed, windows and sunroof smashed. In front of what was left of the car, I think, was a boulder.
Wow.
You got hit by a boulder or something rolled down the hill.
Talk about what are the chances?
The High Patrol cut me out of the car, and I was airlifted by helicopter to the hospital where I stayed for 10 days with a fractured sternum, broken ribs and a broken wrist, lacerated kidney and lacerated spleen, and assorted other injuries.
Boing.
I'm healed up now with just some minor pain and lack of strength in my wrist and some pain in my knees. I've had enough MRIs, CAT scans, and related stuff to last me for more than a while. Luckily, after retiring still a year away from Medicare, I signed up to continue my company's insurance via Cobra. So I always think it was a scam. The insurance company's website provides a page. Luckily, my total out-of-pocket co-pays were only about $1,700. If I hadn't had the insurance, it would have been on the hook for nearly $170,000.
Wow. And he's on the mend now? Everything's okay?
Yeah, and he talks about the negotiated rates, because we've talked about this on the show.
Oh, negotiated rates is 30 cents to the dollar.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
And he goes on with a long exposition. I might put this in a newsletter.
Oh, good.
Anyway, luckily I had good health insurance. I had to pay for the whole non-negotiated rate of $170,000 for the helicopter cost most of this, hospital and everything else. I had no way to be retired now, and I'm able to afford to donate. Thanks for what you guys do. As I always say, I don't always agree with your analysis or views. Who does? But it's refreshing to hear you on our idiotic political and media circus. Love and Life are the best podcast in the universe.
Oh, thank you very much, Uncle Dave.
And he wants some I Survived karma.
Okay, coming up for him. You want
Blair Wilson in Sammamish, Washington. These are she says, hope this is my lucky episode. We got some karma for you at the end, too, along with Uncle Dave's. Kohaizama in Tokyo.
Hello, Tokyo.
Baron Latikin from Houston, Texas. Sir Craig in Russia. C-R-A-A-C. I don't know how that might be pronouncing that wrong. No, we got a Russian. Good.
We got him.
It says IE, which I think is Ireland, though, isn't it?
Craig. Yeah. Don't forget to mention the amounts. You haven't been mentioning amounts for some reason.
These are all hundreds. Baron Latikin's 100. Sir Craig's 100. John Robinet's 100. Stephen Tomaser is $99.99.
And he de-douching, sure. Hey, de-douche. Hey, what's going on? Uh-oh.
No de-douching today.
You've been de-douched.
That's odd.
Peter Chong, 81. Mark Milliman, 61.87.
What happened?
Also says he noticed he hadn't donated in a bit, and this is the amount in his PayPal account. If you get extra money in your PayPal account, think of us. We used to push that more in the past.
We got a real problem
Bear
here,
Fighter 6. A lot of people don't have PayPal accounts. They just use their credit card for these. Small Boob B 6006. Sir Luke, the Baron of London, 5555. Henry Cocozzoli in Livonia, Michigan, 5510. Sir Chris James, double nickels on the dime, 5510 in Sturgis, Michigan. Sir Tom Dari in DeForest, Wisconsin. M. Andrew Jones, Baron of the Americas Mountain. I put a note here that he has a note. Unless it was anything important. I did have Drew Williams here. Andrew Jones. Oh, he sent us a book, A Story of Number.
Oh, I started reading that. Fascinating.
Yeah?
Yeah, I mean, it only because just recently someone taught me about the numbers 3, 6, and 9, and taught is a big word. We start to look at, some interesting aspects of those three numbers. And so the story of number is he starts at number 1 and kind of brings in universal concepts, mathematical thing. It's a very small book.
Yeah, it's very small, but it looks like a winner. You can get M. Andrew Jones or Mandrew Jones, all one word, .com. You might pick up a copy there, and he's recommending.
Yeah, I'm at number 5.
And he mentions that Mark Gagne, noted no agenda artist, designed the beautiful cover.
Oh, cool! It is a beautiful cover. It's true.
It's quite nice. All right. Well, there's there. I have also a note from Drew Williams. I may have passed him up. Oh yeah, Drew sent in a copy. No, Drew sent in a copy of Mad Magazine from 1966. And
oh, excellent! That's a classic.
It's really a nice copy too. But he also gave a patch from. I'm going to read this graph. Encloses a patch from Gnawbone Camp. Just when I first started listening, some guy from Gnawbone, Indiana, donated, and Adam joked about the name. No, I mentioned Gnawbone because I've been to Gnawbone. Adam never heard of the place.
Yeah,
and I don't remember anybody from Gnawbone ever donating. No. So the patch is mine. just to let you know where the patch ends up.
All right.
Onward. Andrew Martonic. $50.33, and the following people.
Hold on. First-time donor as well. He wants to credit this donation to his brother Chris Martonic Jr. because it's his birthday. He'll be 33. He's on the list. Yeah. So I'll give him a de-douche.
You've been de-douched.
And human resource karma for Chris, who's about to have his first child on the way as well.
Put that on at the end. Villarreal, 50. These are all $50 donors, name and location, if applicable. Jeremy Cartwright, Rockford, Illinois. Paul Van Cordelar in IJmuiden, Netherlands. Tyler Schimpf in Bothell, Washington. Bradley Ledden, parts unknown. Scott E. Knight, another Lost Wages, Nevada guy. Walter Len in Gruppingen, someplace in Deutschland.
Deutschland with lots of umlauts.
Here by Unicode, sorry. But we love the Deutschlanders getting into the show.
Hello, Deutschland. Here's the Hoff.
Matthew Januszewski in Chicago, Sir Matthew, I believe. And last but not least, John C. Horner in Bay St. Louis, Mississippi.
Huh.
So I want to thank all these folks for helping produce show 1074. Yeah. Good.
Oh, that's it? That's the entire list?
That's it. That's all we got. There is no more.
Well, thank you all very much for supporting your best podcast in the universe, because you're producing it. It's exactly how production works. A lot of people do a lot of different things and play different roles, but this is your role, and we're very appreciative of it. You had an 1111 pitch in there. Did it? Well, yeah, I see that we got some people subscribing to 1111.
Yeah, I don't know if you can't tell on this list whether it's
you can't tell if it's
weekly 1111, which is less than $50 a month. So it's actually kind of a bargain for people who like to give
well, and the bargain
true value for value.
It depends on how you value stuff. You go to the movie theaters. It's our classic example. You're in the movie. It's dark. You're with a date. Maybe you have some popcorn and something to drink. It's $50.
Yeah, and then you've been brainwashed, and we'd like to counter it.
Yeah, we like to help you. Yes, the antidote is here. Exactly. Thank you again. We really appreciate this, and we will have another show for you coming up on Sunday. Remember to support the show at
Dvorak.org/NA.
Here's the karmas as requested.
Jobs, 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 and jobs. Let's vote for jobs.
You've got karma.
Yes, today is October 4th, 2018. Here are the birthdays on the list. We have Jeff McReynolds with a belated birthday. He turned 51 on September 28th. David Weed celebrates his birthday tomorrow on the 5th. And Andrew Martonic says happy birthday to his brother Chris Martonic Jr. He turns 33, the magic number tomorrow. Happy birthday from all your buddies here at the best podcast in the universe.
It's your birthday, yeah.
Okay, so even though it wasn't on the list, we have a very important nighting today. By the way, the TPO podcast is also on No Agenda Stream, noagendastream.com. It's in Dutch.
It's played after midnight. It'll be during the day there.
It's after midnight. It's always after midnight somewhere.
Well, this is true.
All right, grab your sword, grab your blade. We need this for
I got
road.
it. It's out.
Okay. Boom, boom. All right, Rosen and Phalo, hop on up. Hello, friends. Thank you very much for your support of the best podcast in the universe, the No Agenda Show, the amount of $1,000 or more. Very proud to have you here at the round table of the No Agenda Knights and the Dames, and I hereby proudly pronounce-icate the Sirrod Knights of the No Agenda Roundtable. And, of course, for you, we have Hookers and Blow, Rent Boys, and Chardonnay. Perhaps some warm beer or cold women, early times and BF4, cross ship and cane breaks, chilled potato, Polish vodka, parliaments and pale ale, pog and poi. How about breast milk and paddle, bong hits and bourbon, sparkling cider and escorts, ginger ale and gerbils, geisha and sake, Rubenesque women and rosé, cowgirls and coffin varnish, or just some mutton and mead. You too, Sir Rod, can head over to noagendanation.com/rings, and Eric the Shill will take your measurements there, and we'll get everything off to you as soon as possible. And I very much look forward to you tweeting out a picture of your ring and your sealing wax and your certificate.
Title changes, turn and face the slaves. Title changes. Don't want to be a douchebag.
One title change today is Sir Robert of London has upped in the peerage, and he now becomes a baronet of the No Agenda Show, and that is all reflected, hopefully, somewhere on the peerage map, itm.im/peerage, or dvorak.org/peerage.htm. Drop the L for extra lovin'. Remember, drop the mattress, extra S for savings or something.
Yeah, P.
I don't remember the P.
Oh yeah, so like New York cable TV had the extra. Yeah.
Oh.
Let's see. I got the brain eating amoeba clip.
Let's do it. Well, let me see. Brain eating amoeba. Nice. Does it need an intro?
Nah.
Known officially as Naegleria fowleri, it lives in warm fresh water, enters the body through the nose, and though cases of infection are rare, almost always proves fatal. While it's unclear where 29-year-old Fabrizio Stable came into contact with the amoeba, a Waco, Texas surf park he visited prior to falling ill is being inspected by the CDC. After Stable returned home, he complained of a severe headache and soon after experienced fever and brain swelling. He was declared brain dead on September 21st, just 5 days after the headache appeared.
Wow, you should have played that right after I told you I was wake surfing here in Austin. I definitely got some Lake Travis in my nose.
Yeah, did you get a headache?
Now that you mention it. Well, let's stick in Texas for more stupid news.
It's raised interest and concern. A business that would rent robot sex dolls, a franchise of Canadian-based Kinky Dolls, planning its first U.S. location to have been located in the Galleria area.
That's Houston.
Stunning some neighbors.
Stop a second. Stop. You know, I think it's somewhat sexist and probably rude to always assign these stories to the women reporters. Because, you know, they got to be galled by this whole thing. I mean, femaledom in general.
Well, it's not like we don't assign the Black Lives Matter stories to the African-American journalist because we do.
Yeah, well, I don't know if it's the same, but okay.
Okay, it's a good point. By the way, the Sexy Doll Company, whatever they're called, they also have male dolls.
Yeah.
Rather intimidating, I might add.
I was very shocked. I can't imagine that they would allow this type of business.
Wow! Listen to this, Fry. This is great. Wow. She almost sounds like, what's her face?
Ford.
No, from the Times, former Times.
Oh, the New York Times woman, yeah.
What's her name? The original Berkeley Hummer. Nah. Here we go.
Stunning some neighbors.
Well, I was very shocked. I can't imagine that they would allow this type of business to go into this area of town, much less anywhere in Houston.
The location wasn't released by the company.
Jill Abramson, that was her name.
No permits filed with the city, but Wednesday, public works inspectors were alerted to this building on Richmond and Chimney Rock, saw work in progress in an office space without proper permits. They red tagged it, ordered work to stop. By then, the property manager had already ordered the would-be tenants out. He says 2 men told him they were opening an art gallery. A statement today from the property manager's attorney reads, "After a few days passed, my client discovered the true nature of the business and never agreed to signing a lease for what was misrepresented as an art gallery. My client wants no part in this story or any association with any type of sexually oriented business." End quote. We contacted the owner of Kinky Dolls for comments. No response yet. It's possible another Houston location will be sought, but it's already on the radar by Public Works and a petition drive opposing the business.
So this was the brothel, the proposed
art gallery.
And they're not robots. They're just real dolls. They're not robots. But there's nothing... First of all, if guys want to go to a place of business where you insert your penis into some rubber, who cares? It's not prostitution. It's not illegal. Is it illegal? Is it an illegal business?
It's lewd.
And as I said, they
lewd and lascivious.
Oh, yeah, that would qualify, I guess. But this is an obvious PR move by the Kinky Doll Company. It's not like the Kinky Doll Brothel Company. Come on. Yeah.
I don't know what to make of
it. They look pretty good.
I'm not one to judge.
If that's what guys want to do, power to them. Wow.
I don't know about the power to them part.
Hey,
so I did listen to a bunch of Democracy Now!
You said, hey. You never say, hey, so I got something cool over here, kids. Come take a look at my school bag. Yeah. Hey, girls. What you got?
So I've been listening to Democracy Now!, so I knew that in any one show, they're going to find something to blame on global warming because they signed on to the global warming people. They went around saying, you're not reporting enough on this. You're not mentioning it enough. You should mention it on every newscast. They did. I'm not joking. They went around. A lot of these pressure groups went around to these reporting operations and said, it should be mentioned on every newscast. And nobody paid any attention to them except Democracy Now! People.
A volcano on the island of Sulawesi, where Friday's earthquake occurred, has erupted, spewing volcanic ash into the air, further complicating rescue efforts from the tsunami and earthquake. Meanwhile, scientists are warning that rising sea levels due to climate change will make future tsunamis like last week's disaster even more destructive.
Yeah, that's right. By the way, I'm looking out the window again, and
how are the mud flats, John? Have they changed at all?
In fact, the other day they were extended way out into the bay. I don't know. There must have been a super low tide.
How can that be? How can that be? I don't understand.
It makes no sense.
It makes no sense
because Australia is a sponge.
Because of what's happening in Greenland right now, the maps of the world will have to be redrawn. This is what would happen to San Francisco Bay.
All right, San Francisco Bay still good. Mud flats still in order. Everything's okay.
Yep.
Very nice. You know, I've tried to get an understanding of the USMCA, the NAFTA replacement.
USMCA.
Yeah, that joke was made. Yeah, that joke was made on MSNBC.
USMCA.
It was made on MSNBC of all places. I can't believe you did it. Because the former New York banker was talking about it mockingly. No, nothing really changed. I said, "Well, wait a minute. I haven't read it. Can we actually read this thing? Is it legible for mere mortals, or is it one of these where in Article 39, Section 25B(c), the word "they" will be changed to "z"? Yeah, if it's one of those, it's going to be very difficult to parse. I really want to understand what the changes are. And what I do understand is that more vehicles will have to be produced. More vehicles that would have been made in Scandinavia or Mexico have to be created here. And then the banker was like, and he put a TPP thing in there. I guess insinuating that, I don't know, the TPP was good, which is the Mexican minimum wage. And the banker goes, no Republican would ever want minimum wage for anything. I said, what point did you not figure out?
This is the way this guy talks?
Yes, exactly like that. At what point did you think Trump was a Republican? Well, no. And I nailed him with that. You're like, oh, okay. Have another red stripe. Yeah, I'd like to read it. I'd like to understand what the changes are. And, we can sell cheese.
Somebody that did this for you.
No, he also said, and we can sell cheese to Canada.
That's one of the big deals.
Gee, I know the dairy stuff, but he was all mocking about it. I said, hey, man, I need to read it. I don't know. Was NAFTA? I don't know. This I don't know. What I do know is it was
Briney read it.
Oh, please. If I could find it, I'd read it, but I don't see anything of any use yet. Have Briney read it. She's too busy doing stand-up. You've ruined her.
I gotta tell you.
The story went around that I really was desperate for a clip, because these things are just much better with a clip. The University of Manchester.
I'd love to see a clip of this.
Yeah, so
this is. In fact, I still find the story to be something of a practical joke or something.
Well, I did find a BBC story, but they had done the video in a very weird way, where instead of asking the question was just in a title.
I hate that.
And then the answer. So it makes it very complicated.
Yeah, I hate that. RT does that constantly.
Yeah, it ruins.
It's to kill the Clippers.
It's working. But I've still done some work on this for a couple of seconds. So one student of Manchester, who I guess was in some kind of student body that came up with this, they decided to ban clapping. And from now on, instead of clapping, we will do jazz hands. Which is...
You have to wear big white gloves.
Yes, and you have to rotate. So basically, you put your hands in the air and you just rotate them like you're clapping. Which, here's this interview.
It can trigger issues for students who have autism, sensory issues, and deafness, and it can discourage them from being present at those events.
So the whole reason for this taking place is because it could frighten deaf people. Being a person with some deafness myself, I'm like, no. But you have anxiety or triggering for applause, which is a part of life. Applause is a part of life. Everywhere in your life, and it is typically a happy. I think they're depriving people of happiness and support and showing it's something human beings do together. Like birds, when they fly left or right and you see the flock of birds go, humans will start to clap and we do the wave, we do all kinds of things. It's a beautiful human experience. There you go. Yeah. And, you know, when you don't clap, then I think people are just not even going to be cheering because you're like, oh yeah. It's confusing. You know, the clapping, it comes together. But you look like retards.
Which visually looks like this. People have more informally heard it referred to as jazz hands, but that is the official British Sign Language version of clapping.
Do you know of other people who've got hearing difficulties who it would bother? I don't.
So this is a deaf kid. And they show him from behind first with his hearing aid. So I don't know how bad it is, but he's got the similar hearing aids to what I have. And so now you're saying, hey, you know, just talking to the guy and ask a very interesting yet important question.
Do you know other people who've got hearing difficulties who it would bother?
I don't personally, so I don't know many students who have sort of the same issues.
So there's not that many deaf children there, but okay.
I wonder who this is for then.
Well, a little bit, yeah, I suppose, yeah. But, yeah. I mean, if there are those who do experience those problems and would like that, I think it'd be fine to implement it as a policy.
So the BBC could not find a child who actually was bothered by the clapping for which this policy was implemented. They could not find a single one.
Because there probably isn't one.
They find the deaf.
When did this ever become an issue?
But then,
I think somebody did this as a joke.
Well, here's the real question. If you remove the clapping and you only do jazz hands, what do the poor blind students do?
I think it's a very important issue that you raise. I think that where we are at the moment in this conversation, this is the solution that we currently have.
Brain fried.
This is against the blind. This is bigotry.
It's totally. It's illegal.
It makes nothing but sense that it's just about the blind people.
If this happened in America, the ADA should be on that.
Yeah.
This is not okay.
Now they have no cues.
No cue.
Clap.
Don't even know what's going on.
And then they're completely oblivious to what's going on. This is
And you're ruining. Okay, but more importantly, you're removing a very important human experience that can only be done. And you don't know these other people. You're doing something together. It's fantastic. This is super bad. Super bad.
It's going nowhere. It's maybe. I agree. I think it's dumb. It's laughable, and it's going to go nowhere because nobody's going to put up with this crap. At some point, people go, nuts to you. I'm clapping if I feel like it.
Unacceptable, I tell you. Unacceptable.
Well, I'll tell you about unacceptable.
Here we go. Yes.
I got a clip here that's unacceptable. This is this was glossed over. I had to go do some research because of all people, Amy Goodman's giving this report, and she does choke up in the middle of the report, and I think I left it choking up in. She goes, and then she continues, but she doesn't even comment on this, and they never do comment on this. I think it's an abomination. This is the women winning the Nobel Prize.
In Canada, University of Waterloo professor Donna Strickland will share the Nobel Prize for Physics for her work on creating advanced lasers. Strickland is just the third woman ever to win a Nobel Physics Prize and the first since 1963. Strickland's prize comes just 3 weeks after astrophysicist Jocelyn Bell Burnell was awarded the Special Breakthrough Prize in Fundamental Physics 50 years after she made a historic astronomical discovery, only to have her male advisor take credit and receive the Nobel Prize for her work. Bell Burnell will donate her $3 million award to fund scholarships for women, refugees, and other underrepresented groups.
Okay, let's name some names. I have the paper here.
Oh,
this woman, a dame, by the way, Susan Jocelyn Bell Burnell.
Mm-hmm.
This was in 1967. She's fairly old, but she's a dame of the Order of the British Empire.
Mm-hmm.
Let me read this, and I got the names of the guy, the creep that stole her material. And the irony is the guy said she's full of shit.
Oh, really?
Bell Burnell was a doctoral student at physics at Cambridge when she first noticed a series of mysterious, highly irregular blips in the or regular blips in a readout of a radio telescope in 1967. Further observations showed that the pulses were occurring 1.3 seconds, every 1.3 seconds, creating barely perceptible squiggles in her data. Belle Burnell's advisor, Anthony Hewish, was at first skeptical of the findings, dismissing them as artifacts in her readings. But Belle Burnell was certain it was not just artificial noise. In early 68, her work paid off with the publication of the first scientific paper documenting pulsars. She found them. And it goes on with another graph, and it says here, the discovery of pulsars was such a big deal that in 1974, Hewish, the guy who told her she's full of crap, shared the Nobel Prize in Physics for it alongside fellow astronomer Martin Ryle. It was the first time the prize had ever been awarded to the field of astronomy. First time ever. But Belle Burnell's contributions to the breakthrough find went unmentioned. This is a disgrace. And she did. Then Amy just runs through. This is more of a disgrace than the bullcrap, these hearings, and this woman Ford and her phony rape. And I mean, what her real or imagined imagination of a almost rape. She never got raped. I mean, it seems to me that this is a bigger deal. This is the kind of thing that women should be like shaking
all
their
up in
fists
arms about. Yeah,
but no. They don't even get named this Hewish guy and the other one. I mean,
yeah, why
this
aren't they shaming
an abomination?
Him? A good point.
But she did get one, and they didn't give her for her original pulsar stuff because did they take the Nobel away from the other guys? I think they should have.
Yeah, like Milli Vanilli.
Yeah, same thing. Anyway, I found it very annoying, and I found it annoying the way it was not
presented.
covered.
Yeah, not
no
covered.
names were named,
Not
and then
presented.
Amy, the big, social justice warrior, just blows through the story and goes on to something else.
Huh.
Very, very
annoying.
sketchy.
It's
probably a Tory. That's probably the reason.
A Tory. Let's see, a couple clips left here. Oh, yes. Being a vapor myself, I track the vapage. What's going on? Dexter, of course, in Gitmo Nation East has his e-liquid company. Kid's gone from delivering weed in Domino's pizza boxes to he has like 15 employees. Very proud of Dexter. So I've
giving you a piece of the action. You're always promoting him.
No, I get no piece of the action.
I should give you a couple points.
I don't want points from Dexter. I think Christina and her girlfriend have chosen him as the father for their child or something. So I got to be nice to him. I know. Don't get me started on these kids.
Yeah.
I'm okay with it though. He's a smart kid. It's good. He's pretty. He's cute boy. So what is happening now is the FDA and I've been following this on CNBC. They seem to be all over it. Are making noise about the liquids, the e-liquids. And, of course, it's horrible because it's a gateway to cigarettes. And notice how they never call it vaping. Or you ask any kid, what are you smoking? Will they say an e-cigarette? No. They'll say a vape or Juul, which is kind of the USB chargeable thing the kids are using these days. I no longer smoke tobacco products, not combustible. Because I've learned that term. I vape, and it actually helped me get off of cigarettes. And you can get these e-liquids in a variety of tastes and aromas, and with or without nicotine. Now, nicotine itself is not a verboten substance. It's not highly regulated, is it, John? That I'm not aware of this.
No, you can go buy some nicotine pills at Walgreens.
Yeah, over the counter.
Yeah.
So nicotine is, and
you can go buy a patch.
I'm not.
Or you can go buy 5 patches and put them all on at once,
and lick one at the same time. Press it against the roof of your mouth with your tongue. Exactly, but they're making this out to be like these e-liquid guys, and really, it's kind of a bathtub cottage industry. People who are doing this, and there's no real major brands. And what you're about to hear is right. What you're about to hear is. It's the FDA commissioner, what's his name, Scott Gottlieb, and he is pretty much shilling for big tobacco because the big tobacco companies see this coming down Broadway. They want to be the sole guys in this business, and I think it was 2 years ago, I said, you watch, they're going to come in and you're going to have to file some kind of, some kind of food report or whatever for every single flavor you create, everything you do, everything you change. And I'm not quite sure if they have the authority to do this at all. But here's the report on CNBC.
Well, we have access to early data right now that we're going to make public very soon that shows us that the proportion of high school teenagers using e-cigarettes has reached nothing short of an epidemic level, in my view. And it requires us to step in and take dramatic action to try to curtail.
Yeah, we have data coming very soon. Where's the data coming? Yeah, FDA is real big on data that's all fair and makes sense.
You know, we've long said that we see certain benefits potentially from the e-cigarette products for adult smokers who want to migrate off combustible products onto these products, which presumably don't have all the risks associated with them.
Presumably don't have all the risks.
It's got a lot of weasel words.
The guy is a weasel. He's a total douche. And this is for big tobacco, and it's really disturbing how CNBC laps it up. And this woman who was about to speak, she's not a smoker. She doesn't know crap about
combustion, but it cannot come at the expense of hooking a whole generation of kids onto nicotine. And
hooking a whole generation of kids onto nicotine. Really now.
And eventually onto tobacco products.
Oh, and it's a gateway drug.
So unfortunately, in order to close the on-ramp to kids, we're going to have to narrow that off-ramp for adults. And the thing we're looking at right now...
On-ramp, off-ramp.
...is removing the flavors, the characterizing flavors from the e-cigarette products.
Removing the flavors. And she chimes in, that makes sense.
I mean, it never made sense to me, the argument that adults who are trying to quit smoking would suddenly turn to vaping for flavors like mango or donut or pineapple.
Yes. That is exactly what's happening. And the kids love these.
She said it's not happening.
She's full of baloney. The kids love these flavors, and they're not necessarily getting them with nicotine. You can get all these flavors without nicotine. A lot of kids don't want the nicotine. It's an oral fixation, whatever it is. It's an on-ramp to smoking. And, of course, they'd love to then switch out a cartridge and put a little weed in there. Also all for it. But no, this is a throwback to the candy cigarettes. That's what this is. Remember that, John?
Oh, I remember you used to buy a pack of candy cigarettes.
And they became socially unacceptable.
Yeah, I remember in the 4th grade, 5th grade, the candy cigarettes were very popular. And they had labels that looked like real tobacco cigarettes. And people would, have this, Yeah,
and it was chewing gum or chocolate. It was different kinds. And they were tasty. And of course, it familiarized kids with tobacco products. Of course.
I never smoked. Ever.
That we know of.
No, I never smoked. I never smoked cigarettes, and I've never, I remember candy cigarettes, and I liked them. They were very tasty.
So anyway, notice what they're doing. They're not, and the clip has a little more to it. Then what they're going after people who make flavors. Now, the flavors is really what all this cottage industry is known for. There's fantastic brands and very interesting tastes, and it's food. I mean, it's a food industry if you look at it. There are definitely the propylene, whatever it's called, the stuff that you need as a base to create the vapor. It can affect you because I think it can give you can make you poop a lot, maybe. But it's not.
I have a brand called Poop-A-Lot.
This is what's so great about this industry. You could have a Poop-A-Lot brand, and people will be, oh, this is cool, I want that. And the labels are great, and this is what Dexter has become very successful with. But they're not going after the devices. They're not going after the nicotine providers. No, let's go after the kids who are making up all these cool little flavors.
That seems like it's entirely designed to lure in non-smokers and new customers.
Well, look, it may be the case that the flavors do help some adults transition off of combustible tobacco, that they have appealed to adults as well. But what we're going to say to the companies, those flavors are on the market, but for an act of enforcement discretion by the FDA. We're allowing them to stay on the market without filing applications seeking approval to have those flavored products on the market. What we're contemplating doing, and we're giving the manufacturers some time to come back to us, but what we're working on right now is a plan where we would require these companies to have to file applications with the FDA demonstrating that the flavored products have a net public health benefit, that they're going to entice more adult smokers to quit combustible tobacco and move on to e-cigarettes or off tobacco altogether, versus enticing more young kids onto these nicotine products.
No, it's closer to $1 million. It's closer to $1 million.
$1 million lawyer
per flavor. And notice,
by the way,
yeah,
this whole thing is an example of the problem with government, today's government, overregulation.
Exactly.
This is overregulation that the Republic is always bitching about. But meanwhile, this goes through with Trump as president. And this is the kind of thing that this is extra legal enforcement of laws that are only done by bureaucracies. I'd worked for one of these operations. And they, which is the way the government works nowadays, they give authority to the FDA to make their own rules, make their own laws when laws are only supposed to be made by Congress or the states.
Yeah.
But no, they're made by these agencies, and they're usually made on behalf of some organization like Big Tobacco.
Yeah.
And the whole system's corrupt, and this guy should be run out of town. He should be roundly criticized by the reporter instead of her agreeing with everything he says. Oh, yes,
exactly. And notice he says, we're giving the manufacturers. Yeah, the manufacturers are all going to come back, and they're in this question and answer period, and it'll be, yes, we agree. We think we should have this very strict policy to push all the other kids out who have made this industry.
Yeah, well, I'm glad that at least we show the No Agenda show stays behind the people that have something to do with we knowing them.
Yeah, that's what we stand for.
Dexter.
Dexter. It's all about Dexter. I got some points on the back end, John.
Sounds like.
Hey, John, I got some points on the back end of the vape liquid. It's our exit. Finally, it's here.
Get some points, man.
Right.
I have a couple last clips, but I have one that I think is probably worth playing.
All right.
And this is the one where Trump says, you're not thinking, you're an idiot.
To the
calls on some woman to report. And this is the whole clip, and you can tell he's just being Trump. He calls on some woman from CNN, I think, and he lets her ask a question at a press briefing about the new USMCA.
Well, I'd like to say something about this press conference in general, because I actually caught this one, the entire thing. I heard it live. And it was misreported, as usual, by MSNBC, et cetera. Oh, he didn't want to talk about Kavanaugh. I didn't want to talk about Kavanaugh. But that's not what happened. The first question from the first reporter he called on started on Kavanaugh, and he said, no. Let's talk about, what was it, the
USMCA?
Yeah, USMCA, which apparently Jared Kushner pushed that through. I'm looking into that story. And that every other reporter would say, well, I have a question about Kavanaugh. He said, look, we'll do them later. First about this deal.
And he did them later.
But it was reported he didn't want to talk about it, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, and then so he was pissed off about everyone asking him the same question over and over again. And then this happened.
She's shocked that I picked her. No. She's like in a state of shock.
I'm not thinking, Mr.
That's
President.
okay. I know you're not thinking. You never do.
I'm sorry?
No, go ahead.
That was like, Homo says what? That was really bad. It was horrible. It was horrible.
Yeah, it's very. It's collegiate.
It was
he thinks
horrible.
He's a comedian.
Well, he's the director. He's the producer. He's the talent.
Yeah.
He's the distributor. He's got the full package.
Excuse me. She jumps. No, never mind. Just go on.
You want me to play the rest?
Fire. It's almost like these aren't the bots you're looking for. That scene in the old Star Wars movie.
Do you want to play the rest of the clip for some reason? Or?
Yeah, play the whole thing as you get it.
Go ahead.
In a tweet this weekend, Mr. President, you said that it's incorrect to say you're limiting the scope of the FBI investigation.
What does that have to do with trade? I don't mind answering the question, but, I'd like to do the trade
question. It has
questions.
to do with the other headline in the news, which is the Kavanaugh
I know, but how about talking about trade, and then we'll get to that. We'll do that a little bit later.
Do you think
Anybody have a trade?
Do you
Go
think
ahead,
your trade
please.
deal will pass through Congress, sir?
I think so, but, if it doesn't, we have lots of other alternatives. But I do think so. I think if they're fair, which is a big question, but if it's fair on both sides, the Republicans love it. Industry loves it. Our country loves it. If it's fair, it will pass. I think it'll pass easily, really easily, because it's a great deal. I mean, NAFTA passed. It's one of the worst deals I've ever seen. Inconceivable that it was made. Fair question. Any other questions on trade? I'll get back to you on the other questions.
I'd like to go forward with my Kavanaugh question.
Let's do that later.
Yeah.
She just insists and insists.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, well. Maybe Sunday will be no Trump Day.
It's not possible.
Unlikely, says Ted Koppel.
I mean, what are you going to do? These guys, that's all they do. We deconstruct news, and half the news we have to deconstruct has got to do with Trump.
There you go.
They won't talk about this other stuff. There's global warming going on.
We will return on Sunday with another episode of the No Agenda Show. Looking forward to that. Remember us at Dvorak.org/NA. And until then, coming to you from downtown Austin, Texas, capital of the Drone Star State, FEMA Region 6 on the governmental maps, in the 5x9 Cludio in the common law condo in the morning, everybody. I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, where I should mention that the last show, the Zephyr came by 3 hours late. And I'm still waiting for the Trump tweet. Or not tweet, but notification. I'm John C. Dvorak.
Keep waiting, my friend. Keep waiting. Until Sunday, everybody, as always, adios, mofo.
And said that Brett Kavanaugh exposed himself to her face in college while laughing as part of a game.
I mean, Anjali is just talking to us about single-sex schools. I don't know, is your school single-sex or is it co-ed?
It's co-ed.
It's co-ed. Okay, so...
And said that Brett Kavanaugh exposed himself.
All adults get to pick and choose what we're responsible for.
This ever happened, and Leland Kaiser, who says she believes Ford, says...
It's very real. As we tell adults get to pick and choose.
Said that Brett Kavanaugh...
That comment is just so poor.
She believes Ford says that she doesn't even remember ever being at a party.
That voice is more empowering than anything. And so we tell adults get to pick and choose.
Said that Brett Kavanaugh exposed himself.
Hold on.
Get to choose
himself to her face.
And right, and get to pick and I don't know, I can't. It's just corroborates for be focused on gender roles.
So I mean, in college,
that they don't remember anything like this ever happened.
The social culture,
we should be trying and focusing to stop.
Being at a party where Kavanaugh was present.
Pick and choose.
As part of it,
there's so much that.
Oh, hold on.
Get to pick and
anything.
Exposed himself.
Kaiser, who says she believes.
Yes, now she's saying all men are creeps.
Yeah. Adultism is very real. It's so empowering, and to be able to have that voice.
You even remember?
He was co-ed.
It's co-ed. It's art. And fun for boys should never be exploitation for girls, and so with fun.
Is your school single sex or is it co-ed?
Oh my God! Can you see that, Zephyr?
Fantastic.
China has total respect. China has total respect for Donald Trump and for Donald Trump's very, very large brain.
Donald Trump said he has a big brain. Donald Trump said he has a big brain. Donald Trump said he has a big brain. Donald Trump said he has a big brain.
I wish someone had said that about me. I'd be saying that all day. Hey, the Chinaman over there said I got a big brain. I'd be saying that all day. I'd be saying that all day.
Donald Trump said he has a big brain. Donald Trump said he has a big brain. Donald Trump said he has a big brain. Donald Trump said he has a big brain.
Who was telling the truth?
Yes.
What was the reality?
Grasped the country.
The lasagna of lousy. You know what you did. He liked beer. Had kind of a wind up to the F word. Kind of a...
Every story has three sides.
No.
Every city in America has a Trump hotel.
And both parties are in danger of winning.
Danger of winning.
But it can be worse. You can actually kill somebody's cat and puncture their tires to get them to shut up.
I had one beer.
Technology is the big question, whether or not it is making people happy.
Lies, smears, besmirchment, the character assassination, and frankly, the bludgeoning of
versionary, blame the other person tactics when he himself.
Who was telling the truth?
Yes.
What was the reality?
Ooh, look what they found.
I had one beer. Because we've got facts and then we've got feelings.
Nope, it was one beer.
One beer. All right, and boofing is not flatulence.
You know what you did.
Having drinks up the butt.
The best podcast in the universe.
Mofo.
Dvorak.org/NA